Can you imagine if you just like blank slate, like bought a clean 40 and then just like built it from scratch, like dug it up, dug trenches through the whole thing. Like it does a friggin' hurt.
You never literally lay down ground scent because you're under the ground.
Under the ground.
Ever. Yeah, you just pop up at full draw. There's an elevator, it just raises you up like Beyonce.
Like a concert, like a Taylor Swift concert.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Predator Camo.
Man, this one feels good, right? I know people have been looking at this picture over your shoulder for a while now. I think that was 2018, but we just, over the last, how many years, keep coming back to Predator Camo because it's been so damn good for us.
No doubt. I think we bought our first set off of Jen at the Archer Trade Show almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And Jen's still with the company, and the patterns have only improved since then. They actually were recently acquired within the past couple of years. We've had a chance this past year to go and meet with new ownership, talk about redesigning a lot of the old lines, plans for new patterns, all of the above. So really excited about what's to come, not only this coming year, but in years to come. There's a lot of good stuff coming from Predator.
Yeah, and I mean, for us, it's always been going back to that breakup pattern, right? That's the historic look, whether you're talking about the spring greens or brown deceptions or fall grays. Yeah. I mean, that breakup is really what's been so powerful for us in a tree stand. And right now, they're letting anyone use the code HUNTR on the Predator Camo website and get 20% off any of the lines, including all the new stuff that dropped here in July.
Be the Predator.
And we're back.
Hey,
HUNTR Podcast, episode 302.
Hey,
Deo.
Daylight come. That's the song that I'm always thinking of there, I think.
Yeah, Beetlejuice.
I hadn't pieced it together. Beetlejuice.
Hey, you remember the original Beetlejuice? They play that song?
I do. I didn't know that song was in it, though.
Oh, that's a big part.
Daylight coming.
That's when they yeah.
I was never a big Beetlejuice guy.
Really?
Creeped me out.
Interesting. It's kind of a childhood memory of mine.
Well, hey, before we get going here, I appreciate everyone for tuning in, whether you're listening on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcast. Those are the three main platforms that we drop this episodes on every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. If you've written us on Instagram DM or the website, those are the two that we check the most frequently, and we diligently try to get back to those at some point.
Doing pretty good.
And we have some HUNTR merch on the website. A lot of you guys have, picked that stuff up in the past, and we appreciate you guys supporting us in that way. We'll keep working on some new stuff for you guys in the upcoming year. In the meantime, you can use code HUNTR, HUNTR, on any of our partners' websites for a discount in some way, shape, or form. And other than that,
here we go. End of January, as this is airing. Kind of do it in my head.
I can see your brain when we get calculating.
Yeah, man, it's an interesting time because we've kind of done it here on this. We've made the switch from hunt companions to farm companions, and it's kind of the mentality here of like transitioning out of a season and into the new season, and kind of looking at projects ahead and things that we can be doing. And I'd say it's at two levels, right? There's the micro level, which is like, what can we be doing on our farms, which will tie in really well to our guest today. And then there's kind of the macro level, which also will tie in. I think I've heard plenty of stuff from him on Instagram and things like that, but which is like the state level stuff. And I don't know if it's just because of timing of the year or whatever, but it's been like one after the other bad ideas coming from states in terms of proposed changes and things like
they're good. At that. They're good at bad ideas.
I'm like, holy cow! Like I'm trying to like mentally get out of the season and enter the new season, and you guys are throwing literally shit against the wall and hoping that it sticks. So there's those two things, and like this, whether we meant it or not, this podcast has very much started to merge into the micro levels of we've got farms or leases or how we're trying to hunt and find and kill bucks, and then the macro level, which is we're trying to continue to make deer hunting a great experience for as many people as possible. And we just continue to get like these absurd changes that states are throwing out there, and or in some cases, like a state like Ohio, no changes to make things better. So
bold strategy. Let's do nothing for 40 years.
Yeah. Do nothing for 40 years. And then in a state like Pennsylvania, which is like, hey, let's argue for the last 3 years about should we make the first day of rifle back on Monday after Thanksgiving or keep it Saturday. Oh, no, let's just move it a week earlier into November. What? So it's just, I don't know where these things are coming from left and right, but we'll continue to fight the good fight. And so today we've got Brett Smith on from Whitetail.
I know what it is.
What is it?
Management Solutions.
Whitetail, no, Services.
Services, there you go.
Whitetail, yeah.
He'll correct
Whitetail
us.
Land Management Services.
Yeah, he runs a consulting business, for deer hunting.
Whitetail Land Management Services.
And he's fun to watch. And he's fun to watch on Instagram too. So.
Yeah, and like we were joking before, it's like, what a name for the
I remember when he sent me this, I was like, "Oh, this guy." I was like, "Heck yeah."
yeah. What a name for the internet play to find for your consulting
services,
needs.
not solutions. My bad.
Services could be solutions.
Okay,
as well. Side business, side hustle.
Yeah.
But anyways, so we've got Brett on today, and
this is one of my favorite things to do. Like one of my favorite parts of our podcast is like picking the brains of guys who spend time on a lot of properties, getting
a lot of different properties.
Yep, getting different ideas and like contrasting viewpoints. Sometimes, I mean, everybody's got a different style about how they set farms up. There's a million different ways to address different problems or implement different projects and stuff like that. So, like you and I obviously are looking for the best way or different ways, to address and apply to our own farms and stuff. And so we've learned a ton from a variety of consultants we've had on over the years. And every time we talk to them, even at ATA this past year, we talked to some of Sturgis's, regional guys, that we hadn't spoke with before. I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. Oh, you can do this for a multiflora kind of thing. So I'm sure we'll come away with some nuggets like that today, but that's,
it's going to be a cool, engaging conversation at both that micro and I think macro level with Brett. And just progress. So we're trying to do at this point in the years, make progress and make plans as we kind of forge into 2026. So without further ado, bring him in. All right, Brett. Thanks for coming on, dude. Thanks for spending the afternoon with us.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Appreciate you having me on. Looking forward to it.
Well, we kind of
fix us up. Whitetail Services.
You son of a gun.
I was like, I saw the eyes rolling even when you weren't there.
Whitetail Land Management Services, like we talked about prior to starting.
Yeah,
if you're looking up somebody that does what I do, what do you type in Google?
Yeah, Whitetail Land. Who does Whitetail Management? Whitetail Land.
It's not a sexy name, but it works.
It's what it's supposed to do, though. It's supposed to generate leads. If it generates leads, you win the day.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, guys. So Brett, from Green Bay, Wisconsin, and what is like kind of the background of your business? Is this a new endeavor, something you've been doing for a long time, or maybe tell us where to start?
Yeah, so I live in Green Bay right now. I've lived in Kentucky. I've kind of lived all over, lived in Michigan for a little bit. Been doing this for a number of years already, probably 8 years already full time. So been around the block. I say I'm closing in on 800 properties. I don't know the exact number. I'd have to do my math, but just looking at the past couple of years, how we've been grinding it out, kind of pushing into that number. Everywhere from this year, I'll be Oklahoma, Vermont to Georgia, Texas, everywhere in between. Yeah, so things have really exploded. The media side of things has really exploded over the past couple of months too, so that's only helped. And it was honestly cruising before that, but kind of going to be all over the dang country this year, and it has been that way for the past couple of years. So grinding it out for sure. A lot of travel from December to May. Like that's my go-to time to be doing a lot of this stuff.
Well, I mean, that's cool though, man, in terms of being able to sample different properties across different parts of the country. And it's always fun to find like little nuggets from places. Like it may not be the common thing. Like if you're in Georgia doing something and then you go to Michigan, it's like it's very different places. But at the same time, there's certain things that some places are doing that you're like, might be able to modify this a little bit and apply it up here.
Yeah, you know what the crazy part is like every place is different, obviously. But like sometimes you go to like a place like, okay, let's talk about Vermont for a second here, like a lot more hill country. Yep. And you take pieces of what happens in parts of Missouri, but then you mesh it with the Northwoods habitat types of the red osiers, the popples, and all that stuff, and you try and configure the two together to come up with the ultimate plan. It's kind of crazy how that can unfold sometimes, but every place is different. So my goal has always been, even before the company ever started, my wife did some secondary schooling, and during that time, she's put in 14-hour days. It's like, okay, now's my time to go and just be rehearsed. I didn't want to offer services in places that I wasn't credible in, so I would travel everywhere. And it was, at the end of the day, it was fun. It was going and hunting, but what I always did is I always asked myself, why'd it happen that way here? Mm-hmm. And so next thing you know, you have this catalog of hunts, and you can kind of just, I don't know. I mean, you just have these catalogs of hunts in different areas and realize that, okay, like topographical flow in Buffalo County, Wisconsin, Southwest Wisconsin isn't the same as maybe Pike County, Illinois, or some areas like that. And although they both have topographical features and stuff like that, it's different. Like, okay, like let's talk about that Illinois area for a second. A lot of times your bedding takes place lower in the river bottoms. The food is up high. That's where the crops are. Hunting's a little bit different than if I go to Buffalo County, Wisconsin, or Southwest. Access is always from the bottom. Kind of stinks from that standpoint. And those deer always have the vantage points. So they're both hill country, but they're different. So it's just putting all those things together. And now I'm building farms kind of all over too. I mean, I have a home farm, but it's fun to me to build farms in places you're not supposed to and just kill the best buck in the neighborhood. It doesn't have to be 200 inches for me. I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
I tried to be, and I was lying to myself. That's not my roots,
Yeah.
And so I'd rather build farms in hard areas or different areas and just become more well-versed so I can help people. That's all it comes down to.
Yeah. So Brett, speaking of roots, what is like the foundation of your, if you're going to call it experience or just the root of your passion? Like, is it a family farm that you started, like, the early days of learning how to manage properties, or where does that kind of come from?
I guess the whole hunting thing started very similar to everybody else's story. It was going out at like the age of 3 into the big woods, northern Wisconsin, with my dad. He'd take me out in a sleeping bag. We'd sit out there for gun season. So that kind of started the love of the outdoors, I guess. But then as I got into the college years, it's like, you kind of have that oh shit moment. Like, what am I going to do? Like, what am I actually going to do when I get out of college? And so I did some ecology stuff. I did some stuff that I was interested in as far as the college goes. But then I decided to get more boots on the ground, travel around, work with some biologists and stuff like that. And then, like I said, it was more important for me to take that biology side, but also that hunting strategy side and mix the two together. You get a lot of guys in, like, I'll say the consulting side of things where like they're more biology focused. I'm not that necessarily. Like, I try to mesh the two together because I think people don't want to hire somebody, and I've seen this, and have them come out to their property and say, cut all those eastern red cedars. Like, they bought the property to kill deer. There's a meeting ground in between. Yeah. And so my goal is to always try and find that middle ground. So it's a combination of traveling all over the country, learning different states, and then taking some of the biology stuff and then just trying to come up with something myself and create my own style.
When you say traveling and working with other biologists and stuff, are you mentoring under some people, or just saying
seminars, anything I could find, seminars, like, just to get different perspectives on different things. And that's the main thing, guys. Like, there's so much on the internet now as far as like perspectives on things. And I always ask myself why. Like, okay, you get a guy like, he's not a biologist, obviously, but from a hunting strategy standpoint, you hear a guy like Dan Infalt talk about leeward ridge bedding. Okay, in theory, a lot of guys would take that and run with it, and that's just the way it is. Well, no, I want to make sure. Yeah. And so it's like taking that hunting strategy side of things and then trying to mesh it with something this biologist said. And then it was just a combination of that. Seminars, anything I could get my hands on at the time to just get that scientific background more so, because I didn't necessarily focus on that quite as much in college as maybe I should have, looking back now, but it's all worked out in the end regardless. So
yeah. And maybe I missed it. Did you say you went to school for ecology or some sort of wildlife?
I took classes in it. I never ended up getting like a major or anything like that, or a bachelor's in it. Actually, my bachelor's is just in communications. And then we had like outdoor, I went to Northern Michigan University. So we had everything from like outdoor recreation classes with extra credits that I could take, like literally outdoor, like middle of winter camping, compass reading, map reading, all that old school stuff, and ecology of the northern forest, and like different stuff mixed in. So it was a combination of things. But no, I'd never got like a bachelor's in biology or anything like that.
Okay, cool. What would you say is like, I know it's hard hitting questions here early on. what would you say is like, what is the template of your business, or what's your business model in terms of how do you do the consulting? And what would you say is kind of like, what maybe you are or you're not known for something, but what would you say is a core strength of you or of your business?
Yeah, I mean, the whole business strategy is pretty simple. Somebody calls me up, we go walk the property, we come up with an entire comprehensive report for timber stand improvement, how to apply that to that property. Is it logging? Is it, XYZ method, food plotting plan, step by step, where your trail cameras need to go, tree stands need to go, all that good stuff. I guess if I would have to say what my bread and butter is, it's timber focused for sure. There's so many massive screw ups in the timber side of things, like just small steps that people don't necessarily know. They get screwed over, and loggers will get pissed at me, but like get screwed over by loggers, get taken advantage of, you do a handshake deal, right? Things like that. So like I've always seen from a monetary standpoint, I can bring a lot of value to a property. If you have any sort of TSI to be done, like I want to be the expert in that given category so that we can put money in our pocket, but not just do that, like make the property better at the same time. And if they coincide, and then we can literally make money and make the hunting property better, well, hell, it's a no-brainer. And then I get, in a lot of scenarios, like it pays for my services. And when I'll give my spiel to people, sometimes I think they roll their eyes. They're like, oh, there's opportunities to make money. Like, yeah, right. You're trying to get me to hire you. And then I'll leave some places, and it's not everywhere. Like not every place has the income potential, but they leave and they're like, holy shit, man. I'm like, see, and it's just like things that people don't know as far as the timber side of things. So I've always focused definitely timber on the timber side of things. I grew up on a farm too. Like, don't get me wrong, I know all that stuff. I know the food plotting side of stuff pretty well. But timber is where I focus because I think I can make a big monetary difference for a lot of clients for sure.
Cool. Yeah, and I mean, I would say that that's probably, we just talked about it here on some of the farms I have, even that it's like, you know, you can do all of these other things. You can put a ton of food down. You can put it, but if your timber shit, you know, your farm in most cases is shit, especially if it's predominantly timber.
Yeah, I mean, it's a biological desert. Otherwise, in these deer, I mean, they're showing up at midnight. But if you don't have the core cover to hold them there in daylight hours, your food sources really don't even matter to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
Dude, I think it's number one. Like for some reason, like we get distracted with fun thing, you know, cool things like food plots and stuff, like you mentioned. But then we keep coming back to. And I guess we should share a little bit about ourselves too, if you don't know. So like a lot of our context is I've got a family farm in eastern central Ohio that is like kind of the foundation of like where I have the most ability to, you know, manage farms and do stuff. Jeremy has a farm in Ohio currently too, but also Kentucky. Mm-hmm. And we own a farm together in Illinois. So we get the luxury of hunting some different areas and stuff. And, you know, each affords us some different opportunities and there's similarities and differences. I'm more comfortable, I think, with farm country, just generally speaking. Yeah. And Jeremy's more comfortable probably with hill country, from the Kentucky area, kind of stuff like that. But we do keep coming back to timber in both cases of like, man, it doesn't matter how much we do, like how many food plots we plant, like how much other great stuff we do. It's like, man, our timber is lacking, admittedly.
Yeah. Yeah, and here's the thing too, like there's multiple phases to that timber scenario. Like it's always evolving and you always got to work on stuff on the property, but a lot of times it starts with some sort of, on a grand scale, like a logging procedure and certain diameter cut here, there, and then we go in and we got to micromanage later. One of the biggest problems that I see on properties, like people like to work on that 10%. They want to go hinge cut a little bedding area. They want to go put up a mock scrape, and I get it. But that might not bring a deer from 400 acres away. Let's get them on the property and micromanage later. Even the water hole thing, like it's all over the internet and stuff like that. And people get super excited about it, and because it's something they can do. It's attainable. They buy this property. I'm going to go put in those projects, and maybe it gets you some pictures. But at the end of the day, if the habitat doesn't coincide with that 10%, like they're not there in daylight hours, it never made a difference really anyway.
I would agree. I would say timber is for sure the macro level. Piece probably to look at right out of the gate. I don't know. I mean, you got to do the 90% before you do the 10%. That's how I look at it. Most people do it backwards. They'll do the mock scrapes, the little bedding areas and stuff like that, and it'll help to a certain extent, but it's not going to change the dynamic of a farm. Do you see adversity to that in like other consultants' plans? Like, I guess I don't know. We always just kind of dive into the deer management conversation, and maybe we just lapse over like the timbering conversation up. I don't know if that's because it just goes without saying, or if guys just aren't doing it.
I mean, those small little things, like it absolutely makes a stand location better. But like I said, if he's not within the daylight range, it doesn't really matter. You know what I'm saying? So I understand. I think it's necessary.
Sure.
I'll be honest. I don't put water holes in on a lot of my properties. I don't do a lot of that stuff. I mean, it's a lot of it's cover based. I mean, if you think about cover, man, it's food cover and it's water. They're getting natural browse, obviously, from it. There's moisture retention in it to a certain extent. They get a lot of it that way. And then it's also food. So like we're killing three birds with one stone by working on that cover, but the micromanagement of the kill areas, like absolutely. Like I think mock scrapes and all the water holes and stuff like that play a role, but it's just, like I said, if he's not close enough in daylight, it doesn't really matter. I think you get some midnight pictures. But if he's just not there, he's not spending time on the property, I don't think those things really matter. And so it's easy to do them first because they're the low hanging fruit. And a lot of times all you need is a shovel and a little bit of sweat equity.
Right.
But it's backwards. In my opinion.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, because ultimately there are a set of things that need to be done to the property in order for that deer to exist. Then there's a whole different layer of things that could be there to kill the deer because he exists on the property. So mock scrape being one of them, right? It's like, cool. If that deer's on the property, that's a great place to get pictures. If he's utilizing and bedding close to it, that's a good place to potentially kill that deer. Yeah. But if he's not...
It doesn't supersede just an overall...
I mean, if he hits it at 2 a.m. every night because he's living on the neighbors, that you have zero hunting influence on that deer.
Got it.
Without a doubt.
Yep, we can understand that. So, I mean, Brett, what would be a good example? Maybe you can paint a picture for us of like a timber situation that you see frequently that you can improve. So what does it look like before, and then what would you like to see it like as an end result?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of times it's just people don't understand the value of the timber that they have given the area that they're in. Like if I'm in north central Wisconsin, people don't realize that a lot of your maple can be, like, it's some of the most desirable maple in the country. And so if we can go out there and we can harvest that and do a certain diameter cut in a certain area to increase bedding in that given area, and then build the farm from there. Like that's always a priority. So in a perfect world, like in layman's terms, a lot of times like what I like to see, and my theory is slightly changing on this, but what I like to see on a property, especially when I buy it, is some sort of westerly bedding and then easterly food. And then there's a transition area in between. If he's not making it to my destination food of 10% of the property, then I cut the distance. And I don't like to put kill plots in between because I don't want to encourage him to get hung up. Like I've owned a fair amount of properties at this point. I've been very fortunate in that aspect. And I realized when talking to a client the other day, I've never once put a kill plot in. I've never put a kill plot in on a property. I want to understand that movement the best I can. And so if I can have that bedding on the west for northwest, southwest, straight west winds, and they're making it to the east side where my destination food source is, let's make it like a TV show. I'll kill him on the food source all day long. But if he's not making it there and I have some sort of topographical flow, corridor of some sort, which is very important to me when buying a property that gets him from point A to point B, I know how he's going to get there. And so, yeah, I could stop and kill him on that kill plot. I just don't want to encourage him to get hung up because even 5 minutes on that kill plot is sometimes 5 minutes too much because he's not going to make it now. You know what I'm saying? Bedding on the west, food on the east is the easiest way to think about it. But I've heard you guys talk a little bit about some westerly access farms.
Mm-hmm.
And, I literally worked in Schuyler County last week on a westerly access farm, 200-inch deer on camera, not killed, but on camera. So it's just like, you can't set these hard and fast rules that I will only buy a farm if.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe have some more background knowledge, but in theory, I like that westerly bedding, that 10% food over to the east, cut them off in between if need be. And that's a scenario that we recreate. And then there's like a hierarchy. Like if I can't do that, then okay, let's try to bank the best stuff that we can on a northwest wind. And then after that, maybe it's a southwest wind. And so like there's a hierarchy depending on the property and what the property owner has, but that's always the goal.
Cool.
Yeah.
Bring it back to timber with me real quick. So you said in northern Wisconsin, a situation you might see is people not realizing the amount of value they have. Like in that case, it'd be maple or something like that. Mm-hmm. Is that pretty common? You're saying, okay, we have a property, it has timber value on it. I can make this work. We can get a timber crew in to thin this out, and then I can, continue to work down to more of a micro level from that. That's a pretty common scenario that you see.
More common than people think, and people don't even realize they have the value sometimes because the logging industry and the timber industry is such a hard one to understand. It's almost like it's hush hush. Nobody wants you to know the value. Right. And so if you can understand and have a baseline, even understanding of what you have standing, and all of a sudden you start looking at 8-foot board lengths, 16-foot board lengths. What do I really have here as far as value? Now we can make money and make the property better. Hell yeah. And then understanding like, okay, red oaks are great in this part of the country. And like, they're not as monetarily like as lucrative as like a white oak would be.
Sure. Yeah.
So, is it worth it to cut it in that given scenario? Because in fact, I'd rather hunt like red oaks over white oaks in a lot of scenarios because people go nuts about that one. But white oaks, a lot of times they're dropping during the time of the year in which it's really hard to hunt. Okay. And just because you have white oaks, your neighbors have white oaks, like which one do you pick? At least during the red oak drop, like portion of the season, it's more in that later season. Yeah. They're it's like a fed boot, like a bed to food pattern. And so I've had more luck, especially in the Northwoods, hunting over red oaks. But yeah, you wouldn't believe how often people have quality timber on a property and don't necessarily realize it. And now if you can pair that with a good quality logger who's willing to do certain diameter cuts here so we can strategically place the deer there, and then thinner over here so that maybe we can reharvest it in 8 years and have a constant flow of income, you wouldn't believe how many people have it and they don't even realize it. And that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of times you can do this right, make money, make the property better. That's realistic.
Yeah.
In a lot of scenarios.
So how far are you going down that timber road? Do you have logging experience? Are you marking timber? Are you working with, to contract jobs out and stuff like that? Or do you pass that off at a certain point?
I passed it off to a forester. I end up writing the plan. So like I've done a lot of my own properties at this point. Like I'll write the plan, like diameter cut here, diameter cut there, logging road here. Let's clear cut this for either bedding or food plot on this ridge point or whatever the case might be. And then I hand it off to a reputable forester a lot of times who can manage that cut and keep tabs on it. At the end of the day, like if I'm working with 800 people and I try to stay in contact with as many as I can, I can't manage everybody's logging plan. There's no way in hell. And like in order to manage a quality logging operation, like somebody should be checking in on it. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I can't do that. So I got to pass it off to a quality forester, or sometimes the client has to find a forester in that area and move forward from there. I'll never claim that I'm a forester or have the knowledge base that a forester has, but I'm enough to be dangerous and get people on their way and understand that, hey, you got money here and we can make it better if we cut it like this. And then the property is going to be better, and you also made money. That's where I come in.
Yeah. Do you find that the foresters that you're passing, helping folks find that they're generally like in agreement, or do you get pushback from them sometimes to say, like you might say, hey, we want to thin this out, so we can get thicker understory, but then the forester comes in, they say you're not ready for a cut. It needs another 10 years or something like that.
Yeah, and I literally talked to a client about this today. Like I said, we're gonna do some 12-inch diameter cut, which is a little bit more than what a forester might recommend. They really love a 16-inch cut just to regenerate appropriately, and then we can do another cut in a couple of years. And I understand that, but dude, you bought this property to hunt. We need to cut now if you want results now. And if we don't, you can put in all the food plots you want, but you're going to continue to have midnight pictures, so it doesn't really matter. There's a lot of pushback. In the state of Wisconsin, and every state has this, we have what's called managed forest law, and it's a tax program. We'll set up your timber plan, blah, 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 blah. The DNR gives you that. I can't tell you how many times I go to a property and it's been cut. And ideally you have somebody like myself up before it's been cut, because it's been cut and they did like a 16-inch diameter cut and they didn't cut enough. Yeah. Good luck getting a logger back. Now the value's gone. So we don't get to do it right. We'd have to wait for the value to go back up to even get somebody back in there. It's hard to get somebody back in there sometimes. So a lot of times, like these foresters, they look at it from a forestry standpoint. And so not all of them, but they look at it from a forestry standpoint, not a habitat management standpoint or deer hunting standpoint. And they really don't think about the strategy of northwest, southwest wind, this slope, this thermal, and then putting all that in. They don't think, I don't think
sure.
They're not supposed to do that. That's not their job. And so a lot of times I think you do get pushback. And I literally heard it earlier this week. Oh yeah, I've seen these whitetail guys reports, and like they're just not looking at it from the same perspective,
Sure.
Well, yeah. I mean,
they have a role. They absolutely have a role. I need them. I use them. I use them on my own properties. They have a role, but
for sure. Well, and I would guess that most of them probably have value as the primary consideration. Timber value, in the initial cut
now and
for future values. And I've even seen. We use a forester like on.
Well, Rising said it the other day. He's like, dude, most people when I go into a cut, they didn't cut enough.
That's 90% of the time, guys.
And that's purely from a deer habitat holding, bedding thought process, not from current what I take in value and what's the future of that stand going to look like.
And I would agree with you. It seems like they generally are on the lighter side of things, where objectively
the issue is people get sentimentally like attached to their own property. Even myself, like I do this for a living, and sometimes I got to ask a buddy who's really well versed in it because it's my property. All of a sudden, I'm like,
I'm guilty of it.
Should I be doing this? And I walked up to a property today and I said, dude, what's your goal? Kill bigger bucks, dude. Hammer this timber right here. Don't. It's gonna look messy. It'll come back. If you want big deer, this is what we got to do. And sometimes they just need that kick in the ass to be finally like, okay, that's what I need to hear. Let's do it. Because most people get sentimentally like involved with a lot of their timber, and I don't blame them, because if you live on the property, you got to look at that. You got to walk out there and see that. You got to know you're doing the right thing, because you ain't getting it back if you cut it wrong. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. Well, and probably a fear too is like concern for future value. You know what I mean? It's like, my dad is a great example. Is like the three of us, we could walk out on my farm and he and I would both say, our two primary goals are timber value, because we have some there, and deer habitat and deer hunting. So it's like, how do we maximize both? And I've heard it said that, hey, you can really have the best of both worlds. I don't know that I fully believe that. That's the, foresters generally want to leave more standing versus whitetail guys generally want to cut more. That seems to be where the line gets drawn.
Here's the thing. I had one property in northern Missouri. I cut like 500, 600, 700 beautiful white oaks off the property. Most people look at me like I'm a nut job, but you got to realize I cut it down to a certain diameter. I didn't eradicate them from the property. The younger ones will flourish, and they are still there. So like now I put the money in my pocket before the disease took over and took all that money from me, really. I got something for it, created strategic bedding areas, and move forward. So like they can coexist for sure. I think doing the right cuts in the right areas. I mean, I think that's definitely possible. But like, when I tell people I cut white oaks, people have a heart attack. But if I left them standing, I was going to lose a lot of money, a lot of money, good veneer white oaks. And so now I've opened up the canopy. The younger ones can regenerate, produce the crop, and we can have good quality cover at the deer's level. So in that scenario, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. What Ben was saying, in regards to cutting too light, is like, if you're just creating small openings, like that these trees are going to start growing towards the openings, as opposed to if you would open it way up,
they're
going to grow straight.
That's where your straight trees grow.
Yeah, that's what he was saying.
Yep, which makes sense. That goes back to like whether I'm hinge cutting or I'm just trying to open up some areas. It's like you're not going to cut it enough.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, man. It depends on the neighborhood that I'm into. Like if it's a high hunting pressure neighborhood, I'm hammering my timber when I do it because I want high stump count cover so that there's more scrapes to lay down, more licking branches to check, more rubs to hit, more doe bedding areas to check. Like I have a literal area on one of my farms that I'm cutting right now. We're doing roughly probably 13, 14 acre real heavy cut, like borderline clear cut in certain areas because I want these deer to spend daylight hours on me so that they're not getting shot on all the small property owner property lines around me. So like the neighborhood I'm in dictates how I cut a property as well. How much hunting pressure are we actually getting? Because I want to hold these deer in daylight hours, and if I'm the thickest, nastiest buck nest, chances are I get to hold them and dictate whether they make it the next year or not.
Yeah. Well, and I think to that fine line of like coming together, it also depends like what's your focus on that property in the future? Is it always a deer hunting property, and are you going to hold it for 4 or 5 years and then flip it into 1031 into something big? If so, cut the hell out of it because you're going to sell it as a deer hunting property, not necessarily 100%. A timber value property to the next.
And I'll be honest. Like I buy and sell a lot of farms. Like I'm not here to hide it. Like monetarily, that makes a lot of sense to do sometimes. But it allows me to jump to the next farm and relearn. Like there's a lot of scenarios where like, the way I look at the consulting thing, and nobody's wrong for any decision they make. Like we all just take our best stab at it. But to hunt one property for 30 years and then be an expert on that property, but go service 500 properties never made a lot of sense to me. So like I want to work on the projects, get it to where it needs to be, and then almost sell it, move on to the next, relearn for my sake so that I can help more clients in more scenarios. Like to kill a big buck on the same property for 20 years is great. Like it's big buck. I'm pumped for those people, and like I get it because you get to kill a big buck every year. Something, but maybe it's my personality disorder or something. Like I just always want to relearn and see and like rework through different scenarios. So a lot of times, like it's holding a farm for, like you said, 3 to 5 years, manage the timber appropriately, move on to the next, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's the thought process that people have to have. I mean, I don't know what the number or percentage is from a land standpoint, but I mean, most people are buying a property for deer hunting. They then are selling that property to a deer hunter to buy another deer hunting property. Like it's a chain, particularly in the Midwest, that is just continuing to go and turn over and over again. And so, yeah, I mean, that's what the focus should be. I mean, we talk about this all the time. Like the value in these properties is not tied to like the land as much as it is the recreational value. That's why properties are going for $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $10,000 an acre. It's not because that land is getting better. It's getting less. Access is getting tighter, but the recreational value is having a very tangible effect on the cost per acre anymore.
And you wouldn't believe how much like the recreational, not only hunting side of things comes into factor when people buy properties. Because I can have the best property in the world with literal like just world-class deer on it, but because it's not more recreationally savvy for the family to spend time out there, maybe it just doesn't have as much value to that buyer. Like the amount of people that claim they just want big deer, like they actually don't. They want other things on that property, and I get it. But you don't actually care about deer as much as you're necessarily thinking you do, because we can build some nasty properties and they're not aesthetically pleasing, but you want to kill a booner on them every year, like you're going to have an opportunity. So the recreational like usage side of things definitely comes into play. And I understand you're making a hell of of an investment sometimes, and the wife wants a place to walk the dog in the summer, and I get it, but very few people actually truly want to buy a farm just for giant bucks. You know what I'm saying?
Jared will buy them all.
I mean, we exist. The people exist. Yeah,
it's tough because everybody's got a different like mindset around it. It's like I'm not going to buy it before all that stuff has been done. Just because I'm young and able-bodied and I have the vision, right? So I want to have a hand on it. But there's lots of people that don't. They want it further along.
Turnkey.
Maybe they don't understand that. Hey, an aggressive timber cut is going to get it to a point where now I can work on some of the micro stuff that I have fun doing with scrapes and my little food plots and stuff. Yeah, and selfishly, I want the value right out of the front end of it. So I want to buy a property for a value, just like you guys do. So
yeah, absolutely. And I'm the exact same way. I better be able to somehow like put my stamp on it and carve it out into what I want, and then move on to the next one. Like to buy a farm, I hate to say it, like just to buy a farm to just kill a big deer and then move on to the next one. Like I'm not saying I wouldn't do it, but like I don't know, I got to have a piece of the puzzle in it. Like I've been put, I'll tell you straight up, like I've been put on big deer by certain people in the past, and I shot him, I killed him, and at the end of it, I was like,
Yeah.
I needed to have more to the story. Like I had to build this. I had to do something more, so I guess to buy a preset farm for me doesn't make a lot of sense. And it probably shouldn't make sense if I do what I do for a living. So I'd rather build them. And like I said, there's a front end benefit to doing that too. But also a lot of people just aren't going to do that work ever. They're going to buy that wide open park atmosphere, and they would have never did anything with it. And now, you can look at it negatively, like, oh, he's trying to make a cash grab on it. And there's a point to be made there. But also you got to realize, like, if I don't come in and do the reset of habitat, like a lot of times it never happens. So it benefits the wildlife more than you could ever understand. And then there's a monetary benefit too. But like a lot of people just are too afraid to do too much and cut too heavy and do these things. I'll go in there and I'll do it, and we'll make the property better. And it works time and time again.
HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by DeerGro.
Man, hard to believe, but DeerGro has been the sponsor that's been there since the beginning of the HUNTR Podcast. Back in 2021, I think that they were the only partner that we had, but it's such a cornerstone brand and set of products for our food plot strategy throughout the year.
No doubt. And it seems like we used to have an off season, but not so much anymore. It's like when the hunting season ends, it really rolls right into food plot season, habitat projects, all of the above. And the Plot Start and Plot Boost have been there since the very beginning. That's a cornerstone for all of our plots. The Plot Start goes on at the beginning, Plot Boost goes on midway through. And since they came out with all of the fertilizers, that gets mixed in with the Plot Boost application as well. And I can't believe the results that we've been getting out of that.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Like I said, it's all the work now that really produces the results in the fall. So right now, anyone listening to HUNTR Podcast can use code HUNTR, HUNTR, for 15% off any of the products at DeerGro.com.
Better food plots, bigger deer. Brett, how tied is your hunting career, if you want to call it, or your hunting seasons to these properties that you're managing? Are you hunting any of the farms that you're managing? Like, do you own these? Like, what does a deer season look like for you?
Yeah, sadly, I sold one. I regret it. I had this one farm that was like just legit, and it always had the good layout. It had the westerly food, the easterly 10%. Like it was the grand scheme of the season. Like that we were building the story on that property.
It's a farm that you owned.
Owned it, did the TSI, put in the food, did everything, built the farm.
All right.
Yeah. So like I got to see from year to year, I got to pick up the sheds, I got to do everything and move on to the next. Like on occasion you purchase a farm because it looks good and you don't really have to do much with it, whatever, you move on. But like, no, if I'm buying a farm, I'm doing the work on it. I'm going to hold it for a while, wait till it gets good, and then I'm going to pawn it off to the next guy. I'm doing it with another farm. I got a couple farms in Kentucky right now. One's ready to go already, but I got this other one in this really special area. It's in the middle of that logging process. And so now I need to wait a couple of years and then obviously hunt it, and figure the property out a little bit more, but then reap the benefits of some of the work that I'm going to put in. But ultimately somebody else will get the major benefits 5, 6, 7 years down the road. But yeah, those are all farms I'm hunting, man.
Okay, so this is not like one you're consulting on necessarily. It's a farm that you own that you're making improvements to, and is that in Wisconsin?
I got property in Wisconsin. I got property in Missouri, Kentucky, and that's it right now. I did get an Iowa tag last year, and that's a different story because you only got the property for 1 year. Man, EHD, and we can get into that later. But no, my home farm is in Wisconsin, so that's where I live. But yeah, I got farms all over, long-term farms.
Okay, gotcha. Cool. And so is that a big part of like your business model too, adjacent to the consulting, as you guys are buying and selling farms?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big piece of the puzzle. I mean, the consulting side of things, thankfully, I'm very thankful for this. It does really well. Like I don't necessarily need to go and do the land thing, but it allows me to go get hands-on, work on projects. Maybe you have a monetary benefit from it from the timber side of things, hold it for a couple of years and flip the property and whatever else. So it's about a 50-50 split, but yeah, it definitely plays a big role in the business strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Can I ask, how are you funding the purchases of these farms? Is this all from your consulting business, or is this like a prior business sale or investor?
Yeah, so I know land. I've traveled all over the place. And so I took some of my early investments to get started, and I said, screw it. Why am I going to let somebody else manage my money when I know how to manage it and get a quicker return? That's how it started. It started very small. You take a line of credit out against the house, you do whatever you got to do. Finally, I saw these properties and I'm like, oh, that's the one. That's the one I need to pull the trigger on. I understand there's risk involved, but like, not to me. I do this for a living. I'm not just a Joe Blow who likes land. Like I see land.
Mm-hmm.
I know where it's valuable. I know when it's a good price. I know what timber looks like. And so like, hell, I'll throw the whole bank account at it if it means me getting started. And that's how it got rolling. And next thing you know, like multiple farms all over the country.
Very cool, man. I did
it was
the
just
same
taking
thing.
that risk. Like, I don't know. It was a little bit nutty for deer. little nutty for deer, and then shit, I don't know, it turned into something,
I did it. I mean, my first property I bought, I took, my wife and I took all of our contributions out of our Roth IRA, which you can't take what you made, but you can take your contributions. This was right before Trump got into office, so 2016. And like, so at that time it's Hillary and Trump. Like, we have no idea which way the world's going to go based on whoever gets into office, right? So we take our money out of our Roth IRA and we bought that cabin in Kentucky on 75 acres. And then that started the bull. Fortunately, we got a steal of a deal on it. So it had instant equity. And so when the next one came up, I just leveraged it, and maybe had put a little bit of cash down. And then eventually you start building enough equity that, we did in Illinois. It's like, we didn't have to put any cash down on that 80 when we bought it because we've got so much equity in our other farm.
Right.
Well, especially if it's got quality timber on it, you can repay yourself back down for that down payment. And whether it was a HELOC, like an interest-bearing, HELOC, like, it's interest-bearing, but not for long when you get that timber payment back. And next thing you know, you can roll it into the next farm and you can buy a couple at a time.
It's amazing. I tell people all the time. For me, it was, even though I still hold those Kentucky farms and those are long-term farms for me, that Southern Ohio farm was the farm that got everything else rolling. And it's because, I bought it at a really good price.
Timber.
And I cut $230,000 in timber off of it.
I hear you. Yeah.
And it's like that ended up going right into that, my holding company's bank account, right? It paid off some stuff. And then it's like, I had down payment to go get Illinois, which is $1 million farm, $1.4 million, it's like, so that first 20%, you have to either take risk or you have to get really freaking creative.
Yeah.
And I tell that to anybody.
It was a risk for me, but also like, I know land. I do land.
Exactly.
So when I saw the value, I was like, why in the hell am I trusting somebody to manage my retirement when I know how to manage it myself? And
on paper that you can't even touch, can't do anything with. It's not tangible.
I'll be very honest, people. I took that tax hit on everything, and I still I didn't care. I made up that so quick it wasn't even funny. But I had enough trust and research and enough time put into this. I knew what I was doing. I knew what I was pulling the trigger on. And God forbid something terrible happens in the world. It was a pretty safe call. And here's the thing: you buy a good timber farm enough where it can pay its payments for 3 to 5 years. You're not even putting your own money into it. You're just using sources of land.
Yep, that's it, man. Well, and that's. It is, and I don't blame anyone, especially if it's you're on a 9 to 5 and a capped salary or whatever it is. That first 20% is a bull move, whether it's coming out of savings, whether it's coming out of retirement, whether it's a HELOC on the house. That's a bull move. But dude, these prices aren't slowing down. They're just continuing to drive up. The ability to find the farm anymore is tougher and tougher.
Well, they definitely stagnate at certain points,
but they're not coming down.
I wouldn't say they perpetually go up, and they go down in some areas. I mean, that may not over the long term, but
maybe because of an EHD type of thing.
What I'm seeing, it gets stagnant in places, but it's still going up.
Yeah, it does.
That's the way
exactly.
I see it.
Yeah. I forget, Scalma shared us the numbers. Remember what it was? It was the rate
of return. Yeah,
it was an astronomical amount. It was 50% over the last 10 years or something on some.
And if I had to be honest with you, I think the smart move is to really hold farms long term, because the less transactions you have to make, just the safer maybe it is.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just want to cash out so you can move on to the next, cash out, move on to the next. So I think if you're really trying to do it, you probably just grab a good farm, you hang on to it for a long time, you manage timber on it a couple times, and then you move on from it. Less transactions involved, and you still can make some damn good money. You just don't get to enjoy the money in that in-between phase because you don't get it till you cash out in the end. That's the downside.
Right. Yeah, and if you are going to roll it, then you've got to find the right 1031 to roll it into, which is not always easy. That's been a discussion for a lot of people. Is they're like, man, I'd sell this farm, but what am I going to buy? What's next? What's the next opportunity?
On paper, it makes sense to 1031 in a lot of scenarios. I don't always do it. You probably should find a way, but I don't want to be forced into buying the wrong farm either.
Exactly.
I don't want to be pressured into that. So sometimes you'll just take the hit on it and just wait and buy the next farm, but the next farm has better value, and so it paid for itself. So a lot of people feel the pressure, 1031, 1031, 1031. I don't always do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You would rather find the right farm than be forced into the wrong farm.
Correct. Yeah, That's how I do it.
Here's a touchy one for you, Brett. So we know quite a few guys that buy and sell farms, at different scales, right? Some could be classified as land developers, some are land flippers, some are truly, invested for properties for multiple years kind of thing. Sounds like maybe you got a hand in, in a variety of those, but I sense a distaste from, certain communities for, some of those in different states and stuff. Do you sense that you're like rubbing shoulders with some people the wrong way, or in certain communities, like people don't receive the way that you're buying and sell property? Like they don't like it basically, and they don't like you because of how you're doing it. Do you run into that at all?
I don't read a ton of comments, but every once in a while,
I don't mean comments. I mean real life stuff.
No. But that's where I see it. That's where I see the hate. Well, you're just doing this. You're just doing this. And it's like, yeah, maybe. But like a lot of times I don't get as much flack because I'm holding farms longer term. Okay. Like I'm not buying it and selling it the next week. Like I've done it when I found a really good deal and like a realtor got a hold of me. He's like, dude, come on. Like, and I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to be like, oh no, that's not the right thing to do. Like monetarily speaking, if I don't do it, the next guy's going to. So I have that mindset to a certain extent, but like I want to make the right decisions for long term too. Like I don't want to be buying 1,000 acres and cut it up into 10-acre chunks.
Right.
Like,
well, that's probably where that perception comes from. Is just to put it bluntly, guys are just raping farms. They're buying it for undervalue. They're raping the timber. They're just holding it for 2-3 years. They kill one big deer off of it and they flip it out for a huge profit. I think that's the mindset.
From a monetary standpoint, maybe I should be doing that, but I can honestly say, even with my business guys, like money has never motivated me, but it's funny that if you start making the right decisions and even do what you love, and that's what the company was, like, it's funny how it just comes when the passion's there. So like, kind of got to stay true to yourself. Like, I think there's more money to be made if I just went and bought big properties, chopped them up and move on to the next and did nothing else to them.
Sure.
I don't know.
And you're right. There's a lot of people out there doing that.
Yeah, and I like to build them and enjoy them. I don't know, and maybe it's not as lucrative, but also I think it's important to not be too greedy. Like I'm doing fine with it. Like I don't to need more. Like this world is built for like a certain, and this could sound bad, but like a certain class of people that make an X amount of dollars. And once you get like the way I've always looked at it, like to always want more, like how much does your life really change? So that's never been the motivating factor for me to like turn into some Bitcoin billionaire. And so, like, not that I would ever get to that point, but you know what I'm saying? Like, so to be too greedy, like, just, I don't know, it doesn't feel right. And I don't think it would change my life anyway.
Yeah. So that being the case, I mean, I guess where do you kind of see this going? Like in the next couple of years, how do you see, it sounds like you're doing well with it. You have access to a lot of farms. Where does it kind of go?
Yeah, it just keeps climbing. If I had to be honest with you, I could put the consulting to a side if I really wanted to and just keep it more local. I got a young family. I think it slows down. The business can absolutely, without a doubt, expand and bring on more people. I've tried, and maybe it's a me issue. I'm too picky. And I think sometimes when people hire on Brett Smith from Whitetail Land Management Services, that's who they want to come. And so once again, like I saw it on Instagram, I just saw this dude talking about the family farm. He's like, at some point they'll be greedy. Like, it's important to save your quality. And so that's what I'm doing currently. Like I absolutely can expand, and I have good guys that can help me with certain things if I needed to go down that route. But I think the business just continues to climb. Maybe the consulting side slows down. I could slow it down now, but I love it. But ultimately the family is what's most important. And that obviously takes priority even over the hunting seasons. Now my hunting seasons have changed a bit, where I try to spend more time at home, but like that's, and I know, Jared, you probably don't want to hear that, but like your just mentality changes whether you want it to or not. Like
no, I love to hear that.
Kids, my love for my kids, man, is like so much greater, like than anything I could ever imagine. Like it was a feeling you didn't understand you could have until you had those kids. And it's like, but it changes everything from a hunting standpoint. And so I'm going on a little bit of a rant here, but yeah, it changes everything.
That it does.
Yeah. Yeah. Right on.
And they're costly.
Yeah.
No, I love to hear it. No, it's
Well, I think I think your thought process around finding a farm in a raw form, developing a farm, and then eventually, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 5 years later, selling it. I mean, dude, that's I don't think if people are pissy about that, they're off point, right? The guys that are finding a farm, really not doing anything to it, and then subdividing and then flipping out like within a few months, I get the beef around that, right? That I understand that side of it. But at the same time, it's like, dude, if somebody can see value in something that no one else did and figure out how to make, I mean, that's how America was built. Like that's literally how this country was built.
Like people are always going to bitch about something no matter what you do. Like I would just never take criticism from somebody I'm not going to take advice from. So like, I don't know, from that standpoint, like I try to do it the best I can with the best morals that I can. But at the same time, like there's money to be made. And if I don't do it, somebody else is going to, but I don't let it take me too far in one direction where where like I'm making icky moves, like I'm making some gross moves. And honestly, it's a benefit to the business if I keep doing this and building farms all over. I'll tell you guys straight up, like I'd rather kill the best deer in a neighborhood than move to Iowa and kill a 200-inch deer every year. Like I know it sounds stupid, but like a 200-inch deer doesn't motivate me. I'd rather build farms all over so I can go to that neighborhood and I can go to that state and say, hey man, been there, done that. This is how we should do it, and say it with confidence when I go to a place. Because like I said, like no beef with any of those guys. Like I stay in my own lane the best I can. I mean, I don't mind, stirring people up a little bit on social media. It seems to work, but I think it just doesn't trip my trigger personally as much to go and just hunt the same farm for 20 years. Like I've had farms that I've had for multiple years, and I know where the kill tree is, and I know if I sit there a day and a half, I get it done. And it's like, there's not much for me to learn here. And yes, I'm going to kill a big deer, and it looks cool if I post it on Instagram, but like that doesn't really make me happy. It's kind of like I shot him, and it's like, I want to just keep relearning, and it only benefits the business from that standpoint.
Sure.
To your last comment there about taking advice from, people you wouldn't take, or however you said that, who are some people that, you look up to in this business or in the hunting industry or however you want to take that?
Can I be honest with you? Like there was a time in which I was still coming up where jealousy was a big thing, and you're a little bit ego filled, and you look at some of the guys that are bigger than you, and you're like, I would never put a water hole in there that way. Like, but I look at and I don't agree with a lot of what they say, but I look at the Jeffs and I look at Grant and I look at those people, and it's like, hey, I appreciate you paving the way. There's a lot of other guys I'm like, you're an absolute nut job, and I would never do anything. Maybe they're not, but like I would never have that perspective that you have. But like, I don't know that there's anybody anymore that like I model myself after. I try to stay in my own lane and trust myself because it's gotten me where I've gotten today. So
or just in general, Brett, even from a hunting standpoint, you're like, hey, just from a lot of what I'm doing is modeled off of here's somebody I respected, even 5-10 years ago.
Here's the thing. I like the hunting style of a Cody DeQuisto, but I like the management style of probably 5 different guys combined. You know what I'm saying? Which is a weird thing to say. Like I've run and gun for the past decade plus. Like that's my style. Cool. And so like it gets a little weird when you're sitting in a box blind sometimes because you're like, do I really like doing this?
Yeah.
But it's taking different flavors, man, and mixing them together to make your own. And that's all it's been for me.
Well, that's the entire point of our podcast, right? Is like we have these conversations, whether it's from the habitat side or the hunting side. We take it in and we're like, okay, like I see that nugget being valuable and this one from over here and this one from over here. And then, you end up being able to apply them in different scenarios, and there's no right or wrong way for a lot of things. People just do stuff differently. And, ultimately, especially in the consulting side, it comes down to what's that landowner's goal? What do they want? Right. And I would say the pet peeve, because I was consulting. I was coming out of school, so 20 years ago. Like I was doing the same thing. I was bouncing state to state, property to property. And you probably do too. You'd run into a spot where there's been 3 other guys there in the last year or two, right?
Yeah.
And first off, I always ask myself, I'm like, why in the hell am I here if 3 other guys have already been here to do the job that I'm supposed to do?
Guys, it doesn't make me better because I'm the 4th guy either.
That's what
you wouldn't believe. I hate to say it, and I'm not going to mention names. People can figure it out real quick. Somebody went to a property, and I was just there. What was it, last week? I was down in Missouri, and a very well known guy. He rode around on the guy's side by side. You see all them eastern red cedars. Cut him here. Cut him here. Cut him here. The guy had 6-figure potential in logging. I was like, so he didn't bring up anything as far as this goes, and how it's terrible habitat, and I can see 400 yards. Now he's really focused on my eastern red cedars and make sure that I got rid of those. It's the biology side of things. So it's like you got to mix that with hunting strategy, or these guys don't meet their goals. Like they don't buy their farms to manage invasives.
Yeah.
And so it's like I was upset. Like I was like, dude, you just wasted $4 to $5 grand paying this guy, and he didn't even let you know about the timber quality that you had. Like I asked the guy, and I was like, how much timber value you think you got here? And he's like, oh no, 30 grand. I was like, buddy, this veneer white oak and these walnuts, and nobody told you this? And so I'll never claim to be the best. I'll always strive to be the best, but like, I'm not going to compare myself. But it's just like, what in the hell was the last guy doing here? And I guarantee there's been somebody that went up behind me, and some guy that's watching this right now, maybe he's a consultant. He's like, I can't believe he did it the way he did it. We all different lanes.
Yeah, dude. And there's a weird thing because they're, and I think, Jared kind of hit it earlier of kind of like, what's your strength there is like, dude, everybody has their own like niche. Like, for me, for a long time, like it'd be, okay, this guy's really good at food plots. Like that's his niche. This guy is good at native habitat. This guy's good at hunting consulting, which was like, a whole phase there for a long, long time. Right. Yeah. And like, it was kind of weird because I was like, I'm trying to, and it's overwhelming. if you try to go in and look at all of that stuff and wrap it together, like it's a lot. It's a lot for the landowner to process too, where it's like, okay, we can do cuts here. Here's how the food plot. Okay, think about this. Anything southwest predominant winds. Here's the stand. Like now, all of a sudden, you're not even talking. You're talking habitat. Talking supplemental food. You're talking stand placement. Dude, their heads are spinning at the end of the day.
And I'm a rambler too, and I'll go off on tangents as to why we're doing this because it affects this, this, and this, and this. And so like you try to like reel it back in and say, does this make sense to you? Like, can you recite it back to me as to why we're doing this? And like, is this even attainable for you? And hopefully it is, because maybe you don't have to do a lot of the work because we're logging. Like you try to paint this picture for them, but it's just like, I've seen it otherwise where like guys go and drive a farm for like a couple hours, don't get out to side by side. And it's like, there was like, the writing was on the wall. It was right there. We can self-fund the operation and handle this. And why didn't you say that? And it's like their greater mission was to just get rid the landscape of invasives, which is the right thing to do, but it's not. You're doing a disservice to the client because that's not why they brought you in. And I think even I like should be focused on the invasive stuff, but I got hired for a reason. I'm here to help you, not just like make your property better.
Yeah. Well, and I mean,
like,
that comes down to listening to the landowner of like, you know, quickly you can find out if you go into a place and you're like, this guy, whether inherited or the dude's got money, right? Money's not an issue. Sure, if I make him an extra 20 grand or 30 grand here, he's going to care, but money's not an issue. He just needs to know what the hell he needs to do to kill big deer. You'll go to other ones where it's like, they brought you in and dude, that's a big expense to bring you in. If you can find a way to make them money to help pay for some of the stuff that you're talking about and get them to their end goal, dude, they'll speak volumes about you to anybody and anyone who will listen.
And it happens. It does happen quite a lot. I've worked with everywhere from Bitcoin billionaires to literally the 20-acre Joe. You know what I'm saying? And so like the monetary side definitely plays a role there. Some guys don't give a damn about it, but I'm like, hey, no, we should still do this. Like it's going to make the property better too. And it's going to like, you're going to make tens of thousands of dollars. So like some guys don't care, but it's still literally like, I'm not just making that decision for them to make them money. Like I'm here to make the hunting property a better hunting property. And so like sometimes like that's literally the right move is to make money and make the property better. No matter your
dude, if you would step back and walk us on from, or a little bit further down, like a management plan that you would subscribe or prescribe. So let's say the first thing is, you know, we go and we look at the timber, say, hey, there's timber potential here. We should consider, you know, cutting some of this. What would be, what's next?
Yeah, well, it's a matter of, I mean, handling the logging process appropriately, maybe getting a tax basis done, understanding value, moving forward with a forester so that the trees are marked appropriately because they'll handle the logging process from there. They do a closed seal bid maybe from there, where you're getting the right prices. And you're getting.
So sorry, I'll clarify the question. So that's, I get it. I get the timber process. So, hey, we're going to harvest timber off this. What else? You know, so now we're talking strategy. You know, are we looking at other more tillable sections of the farm? What comes after the timber analysis?
Yeah, so obviously the timber stuff that we're going to do that all strategically based off topographical flow, predominant winds and stuff like that. Then it's a matter of trying to figure out how we can get to the property. The next like lowest hanging fruit that we want to accomplish is how do we get this property close as we possibly can to 10% in food, sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on the area that we're in. How do we get from point A to point B based off of predominant winds? How does the topography play a role in how the deer get from point A to point B? And now at least if we have the bedding and we created that via a good diameter cut or maybe something else, and we got 10% food, there's a really good chance at least during one portion of the season, you have some sort of daylight pattern. And now worst case scenario, if you don't make it there, we got a transition area and we'll go kill them there. Boy, Brett, so it's all, I guess, hold on.
Brett, your brain works really fast.
Too fast.
Okay. So I'll break it down just so I can understand here. So we want to, depending on the area, want to see if we can get a solid food sources, one or multiple, 10% food roughly is what we're looking at depending on the area. And then from there, I think you hit on 2 points really quickly there. One was access, which is huge, and also flow of movement. It sounded like, you know, from deer herds. So we assume from the timber management that you've done to food. Sound right?
Yeah.
I'm caught up on all. Okay.
You want me to elaborate a little bit more?
If you want.
Yeah. So like just paying attention to topographical flow. Like a lot of times I don't even care if I'm in hill country. I can look at the topographical flow of a property and just turn on my topo feature, and people on flat ground won't do this, but there might be one line through that property that will dictate how deer are moving from point A to point B. They will parallel it.
Sure.
And so if we can piggyback off that and build the food and the bedding based off of that, guess what? We probably know a lot of times how he gets from point A to point B.
Okay.
So that definitely plays a big role as well. What was the second half of that?
Cool. And so I assume I'll tack onto it. You're looking like kind of for access to an ambush point along that parallel line, something like that.
Without a doubt, if we have to. Ideally, we kill them like a TV show on a food plot. But if we don't, yeah, exactly. How do we access that, especially on a northwest wind, straight west wind, southwest wind, and so on and so forth, to get in there and kill them if in the transition, if need be. Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
So the TV show style, basically is best case scenario. You buy a farm with east access. You've got a timber block on the left that you can essentially clear cut, and you bring them out to food on the eastern side, and you set up on a box blind on the far eastern side of it with a west wind.
Yeah, it's not necessarily my style to sit in a box blind,
but
I get
TV style. You can coin it, trademark it.
What's that?
That's the TV style. You can coin it, trademark it.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, well, here's the thing though. If you want to be efficient, is there a better way to sit in an enclosed blind and keep the windows closed? Like,
probably not.
No matter how you feel about it. So if I'm there to tell people how to kill more deer on their property more often, like it plays a part of the role. And like, think about it this way: you climb in that enclosed blind, and let's say you even took an e-bike to the thing and you jetted through it super fast. You had about 5 minutes of pressure on the property versus you walking slow, taking 20 minutes, climbing up in a tree stand for 3 hours. In one hunt, that's a difference of 5 minutes of pressure on a property in 3.5 hours. One hunt. You want to talk about minimally invasive hunts and getting the most bang for your buck on your property so you can hunt it more often. Those little tools help. They might feel a little weird. They might feel like your boots are off, your feet are kicked up in the blind, the heater's on. Might feel a little weird. For me, it does. Some guys don't care though. They're just like, I don't want to kill deer and I want to be comfortable.
Sure.
Boom, that's our strategy.
Yeah. Do you think it's a pretty solid year-round strategy, or you say, mainly early and late, and then you jump into the timber during the rut kind of thing?
Like you just said it, early and late, jump into the timber from there. And like I said, that's just my personal strategy too, because I've been a timber guy. I grew up in the North Woods, grew up in the big woods. Like I always had to be in the timber anyway. So like I feel like I understand the transition areas pretty well because I've just always been a timber guy. And so I think you got to be in the timber. Like I don't think you sit an entire season out in a box blind. And if you're going after a particular deer and you're trying to be whatever, so like conscious of scent and stuff, I get it, but yeah, no, I think there's time and a place to go jump in there, and I don't believe in sanctuaries. Like if there's a time and a place where you feel like you can go kill your deer before the neighbors do it, better than sitting on the couch.
Okay, so what if you don't have that that setup? What if it's a west access farm, and let's just flip it. Let's just say food's on the west side of it, timber's on the east, and you only have west access.
Yeah, you do your best to J-hook into the property for the best wind possible that you can. You got to think about those straight west, northwest, southwest winds because that's what you're going to get the majority of the season. This year, it seems like we got more easterly, so that's perfect. Great.
Yeah, we got a lot of east this year for whatever reason.
Okay. So when you say J-hook, can you explain that to me? So west access, food on the west, timber on the east.
Yeah, so if let's say I got a southerly wind or even a southwest wind, but my axis is up on the westerly edge of the property, I'm going to run up to that top end of the property, run down the borderline, and wrap back down around and put that wind in my favor. And that's how I would handle a westerly axis farm.
And so where are you going to get to? Like where's the end destination with that access?
So when I'm J-hooking in, like hopefully there's a destination food source that's been built on the property up there. And if he doesn't make it there in daylight hours, we've laid the property out appropriately so that I can go to the transition, go to the bedding area if need be, if I can't TV style kill this deer.
Okay. So yeah. And so basically just using your north and south perimeter, it's going to push you out to the ends of the farm is what a west access farm is going to do. Or if it's tall enough, you have some sort of middle ground that you call dead space. Is that fair?
Yeah, I would say so. It just depends on the given farm. But like at the end of the day, all it comes down to is you want to try and have that daylight pattern. So if you don't have the bedding and you don't have the food, like you can sometimes go balls to the wall with one or the other and you'll have success. But I want to be able to say, I think I know what this deer is doing so that if I want to go cut him off, I can.
Okay.
Makes sense.
What is the food strategy in terms of like, what do you want?
Perennials are massively underrated, guys. Perennials play a big role in this, especially when we're clearing new food plots. A lot of times they'll do really good in a low pH soil. I mean, a lot of guys just skip the steps of soil testing and stuff. So we can sometimes throw and grow. It's a really easy way to accomplish a food plot. But it's all about diversity, and it's all about having something that's palatable during every single step of the season so that a buck can be there every single step of the season. And if we got a big enough property and we can do that in numerous areas, numerous bucks are on the property. So like perennials play a big role. Grain, and then grain plays a big role, but then always maximizing acreage by cover cropping it, overseeding it, doing something like that. So when the grain is gone, there's still green underneath. And then the planting method, as far as that goes, like that changes. But man, diversity is the key. I want something that's palatable during every single step of the season. But a lot of times you talk to a farm owner and you're like, what time of the year are you seeing your big bucks? A lot of times it's that rut time frame. Okay. But now every once in a while, it's like early season. So then you kind of got to decide once you see the scenario, do we double down and really just try and kill them all early season and correlate the food sources with that? Or is it a late season scenario? We got low gun pressure. So you got to take all those things into account when trying to pick what food sources you're going to plant. How do you keep deer off of them in the summer? Milorganite, different spread. Like there's a million different ways to skin that cat, but diversity is always the key. And I know it's a boring answer, but that's what it comes down to.
That's right.
Or mowing the shit out of corn. That always helps.
Yeah,
that does.
So is there a strategy for it's just basically try to pack as many of those or create a flow of movement through them past that one ambush point as possible? Is that kind of the strategy?
I would say so. And like I said, there's multiple different ways to accomplish it, whether it's via corn and overseeding something into it, or beans and overseeding something into it, a first year perennial stand and drilling something through that because there's gaps in it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Any of the above.
What about bigger farms? I think like an area that I get hung up on, frankly, on our Ohio farm because it's a larger acreage deal is like, it's easy for me to visualize, on a 40-acre tract, for instance, timber on the west, food on the east and access here. But I'm like, it's not that all the time. I mean, maybe there's more of that like in the Midwest, but I'm like, okay, dude, I've got stuff all around. Like the hardest thing I have is defining what is point A, point B. And like, I can access from north, south, east, and west, all kind of different stuff here. So the vision to tie them all together and maximize them from a strategy standpoint is like where I personally hit a wall. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that or not.
Yeah, I mean, I worked on farms as big as like 2,000 acres plus, and you're overthinking it a lot of times. I think you just got to recreate that pattern numerous times on that property so numerous bucks can exist at once, like the best you can. And maybe a certain area is just better for a southwest wind, and that's my southwest strategy. Like we create that bedding and that food from here to there, and then we create that bedding to food from here to there. It's dictated based off a topographical flow. Do you place the buck where he wants to be on the leeward ridge? Do you try and make him bed lower? Like all that stuff comes into play, but you just want to recreate that, what I would call the daylight pattern, as many times as you can on a big farm like that. And as far as managing timber goes, that's a different ball game there, because you got to look at it from an income strategy. You want to cut that in different waves so that there's different successional age class regrowth, but also maybe a constant flow of income for the property. So you got to try and factor in all those things too.
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Hoyt.
Should be no surprise to anyone listening to this that back with Hoyt another season. I'm actually going to be shooting the AX2 aluminum this year.
You traitor.
But you're still going RX9.
Yeah, blacked
carbon,
out as always.
Blacked out. Big surprise for everyone.
80 pounds. Big surprise. Yeah.
But seriously, man, I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. Every year it seems like we get a new Hoyt bow in our hands, and they're always a step above the last and just a step above everybody else.
Yeah, they're so consistent, man. Just their processes get better, every year. And we've really been excited about, as we've grown with Hoyt, we've brought some others in with us. We just feel like the Hoyt family is growing, like the community, and we're really excited about the people that are involved, excited to be a part of that company. And it's really awesome.
So for anyone that's excited about Hoyt, like Jared and I are, you can use the code HUNTR, HUNTR, on Hoyt.com.
Get serious, get Hoyt. So I'm thinking through that larger property strategy. Does that mean, I think dead space is kind of the topic that like is in my brain here. Like, how do you
handle the dead space, or what?
Not handling it necessarily, but are you like creating it even in some cases? Are you like, hey, I have this 10-acre field that I could plant a food, and maybe we need 10 acres worth of food, but there's no hunting strategy that correlates with that. I need to screen off half of it and get closer to your timber and stuff and create dead space behind me so that I can access it.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely areas you leave alone on purpose because you don't want the deer to be in there. Like I said, like to put a deer purposely downwind to you just to maximize every square acre of your property doesn't always make sense. Like sometimes people just feel the need to do something with every square inch. And in fact, I would rather leave that area alone, let it be mediocre, and focus on the pattern so that's more predictable. Like to really make every square inch of a farm better isn't always a good thing, because now you've complicated the movement because they could be anywhere. You know what I'm saying?
That is kind of my question.
Yeah, so I guess I just want to create that pattern as many ways as I can, but there are dead zones that almost you kind of just let be meh habitat,
Yeah.
And you're still managing them. Maybe you're running fire through them every 4 years to just maintain some sort of quality cover in them, but I don't want them to be areas that the deer find desirable, because it just makes the hunting a little bit less predictable. They could be anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the kill plot thing. Like I could put 10 kill plots on a property and try and meet my 10% of the property in food, but like, which one are you going to pick? You're going to chase trail camera pictures? We can get into that. We did a 3-year-long study on the trail camera stuff, and I love trail cameras, but
I saw you make a post about that, Brett. What's the gist there? I saw it was like, hey, here's the trail camera study results.
Yeah, so we did it through 3 states: Kentucky, where we could bait, Missouri, and Wisconsin. And basically what we did is we put a camera every 5 acres on a property, and we would sit over these trail camera locations or within visual sight of them, and we would basically jot down how many deer we saw that day in the timber versus how many were crossing the trail cameras. And now one thing that people get confused with the study is like, you're still getting the majority of deer on camera at some point, but the day that you're in that timber, you're catching a very small amount, right? 3 to 5%. Over a 3-year study, 3 to 5% of what was happening in the timber that day is all that camera was catching. Right. And it might have been a corn pile. It might have been the hottest scrape on the property, on the property that I'm more familiar with than anybody could ever be with another property. Like, it's the right spot. If anybody should know where to put a trail camera, it should be the guy that hopefully does this for a living. And I'm sitting over these locations, and like, you can't wrap your head around how many deer are running around these locations, even if it's in the right spot, even if you put 2 or 3 cameras in the right spot. And so about 3 to 5% of the movement per day is what we were catching. Opening day of gun season in Missouri, I'm sitting in the timber. See 30 deer in the timber that morning, 20 deer within bow range, the hottest scrape on the property. This is like a strategy I talk about on public land, the first scrape outside the bedroom. That's where we're sitting. 0 deer. So if I'm sitting on the couch, boys, shit, they ain't moving today. Good thing we didn't go out. And in reality, 30 deer were in the timber that morning. 20 deer were within bow range. Mm-hmm. Is that always the case? No, but it's pretty consistent. I did it across 3 farms across the entire country, different scenarios, bait involved and everything. You're not catching much, and that's a camera every 5 acres. So a 100-acre farm has 20 cameras on it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And I love cameras. They're part of the puzzle, but you should be using them as inventory and turn them off. Not even turn them off, but like mentally turn it off. Woodsmanship. And a lot of people act.
Well, Brett, do you think that is purely just placement and natural deer movement, or do you think that they're avoiding them as well?
You know they're avoiding them without a doubt. I've watched 5-6-year-old deer purposely when hunting one of my Kentucky spots. Purposely beeline down the trail. Whoa, watch him. I'm like, you son of a gun! Like, in here I am. Come on, and like waiting for him. He walked right around. I was like, how often is that happening?
Wow.
More often than you realize. So whatever, is it the frequency? Who knows?
Yeah, whatever it is, it's something, right? Like it. So some of it is definitely avoidance. Some of it is probably just deer just moving, like they're just moving through the woods. They're not, that detection radius for the camera is just this.
You know, I mean, think about how much area you're actually covering in the grand scheme of even a 100-acre property. Like, what does that camera cover? Maybe I don't know, a 20th of an acre, and now you times that even by 20 cameras on that property, you're still a minimal amount of acreage is all you're covering. Yeah. So I'm not telling people to go around 40, 50 cameras. Like, I think that's a little, I don't know. It's not my strategy. I get people do it. But you got to realize, like, you got to have woodsmanship. Otherwise, if you just sit and wait on your cameras, guys, you're missing everything. Like, clients are like, oh, he's been gone for 5 weeks. Has he? I don't know. Or is he running around him?
So, Brett, how does that translate to a camera strategy in areas that you're hunting? Would you shy away from putting cameras, nearby tree stands or anything like that?
No, here's the thing. It's still a tool in the tool, like in the backpack. Like, you still use it. I still use them, but just getting back to my roots a little bit. Like, there's a part of me that wants to have no camera farms. It doesn't necessarily work into the resale management strategy of selling a farm, but like, just my style, like, I'd like to get back to that a little bit more, but you still use them in all the general spots you would expect. The first scrape outside the bedroom, the rub lines leading back to the bedroom. When you hit the double-sided rubs, to me, that's like the bottom of an oak tree. Like, there's a lot of branches, but it comes to the trunk. And when I hit that trunk, I'm getting close to his bedroom. I'll monitor all those areas, whatever, food plots. If you can do corn piles, all the above. I'm still monitoring a lot of the typical spots, but you just have to know. I don't care if it's the best spot on the farm. You're not getting all the movement. You're not getting the majority of the movement.
Well, so, like, here would be a scenario for it. Just if I can paint a picture. So let's say you've got a perfect, let's say whatever it would be. You got perfect access through the edge of a pasture. You can walk down the edge here. It's going to insert you right into the edge of, like an upper knob of a bedding area. They're gonna, they cross right through there. There's like a logging road let's say that comes out the edge of that bedding area on the downwind side, and right at the top of it, there's a big scrape. Maybe it's a mock scrape that you put in there. It's one of the best tree stand locations on your property. So the question would be, would you be afraid of putting a camera on that, knowing it's one of your best hunting, and you have a permanent stand there, and it's like, I can kill a buck here every year?
I can honestly say I do it and it works, but I wonder how often it maybe deters the deer or doesn't catch what's around, and therefore dictates my hunting strategy. And so
I'm in that boat as well. I have a camera on mine, so I have that exact scenario, and I'm like, I do wonder. I'm like, boy,
because you're basically saying, like, obviously we just talked about they could be avoiding it, thus avoiding the area.
Yeah.
Probably more importantly is the fact that the information coming from that camera is absolutely influencing how you're going to hunt that spot.
No, I'm not as I mean, most people probably that is the concern, but
you're saying purely of an avoidance of the area.
Yeah, literally. I'm like, I know this is a good spot. I know I can kill a big buck here. Whichever one is here. It's also one of the best spots to monitor them. Mm-hmm. So does one hurt just having a camera
I've
there?
Thought about it, man. I'm like, dude, if I put 10 cameras on 100 acres and they're there, and these mature bucks especially are like, I want to avoid these things. Like, am I messing that?
Am I messing it up by putting a camera here? Exactly. That
so
is
you either go cold turkey and you get rid of cameras altogether.
That's what I'm at.
Well, no. You could put cameras other places. Yeah, you could put cameras other places. So it's like, okay, I know the deer exists, and I know that spot is good enough. I can catch them there. So that would maybe be the alternative.
Yeah, I mean, from a cell cam standpoint,
am I just deterring them from being in those other alternative locations? Then,
well, good, because I'm going to hunt the upper one.
Well, do you? I mean, think about cell cams. The whole point is, like, I don't have to go in and I don't have to touch them. I have to check them. Like, if I'm going in whatever, February, March, and I'm dropping these in the bedroom, right? Because I'm like, he's going to be in here. This is a great place to catch him, great place to monitor him. Like, am I just destroying those bedrooms?
Here would be,
I don't know.
Here's some evidence from that. Dude, I've not like hundreds by any means, but over the years, I've put dozens of cameras on beds that I've literally jumped bucks out of. I can, like, very rarely do I ever get them coming back to that. I'm like, is it just because I bumped them out of it, or is it because
I thought it was the coolest thing
here?
ever, dude? When I would find a giant buck bed, I'm like, I put a camera there, and I'm like, I can't wait, and like,
almost never came back to it.
No.
And that's why I back out and I find the first scrape outside the bedroom. And so I at least put it in still the good area, but not in the hole. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I don't want to shove it in their face.
Let's say it is throwing a frequency, right? And we don't know. But let's say it's throwing a dog whistle frequency. Like, do you think he's going to sit there and tolerate that for 12 plus hours a day? Hell no. I wouldn't do it.
I've seen the occasional video where they put them like 20 feet up in the tree and maybe they catch them, but like still, like, I don't know. I don't do that. I don't put them in their face. And even like on a trail intersection, like, I make sure that when he's walking that, he ain't going to come face to face with it. It's going to be perpendicular off the trail 10 yards.
Right.
And does that really help? I don't know. I mean, I think it's better than shoving it in their face. And I also think that video mode actually plays a bigger role too with that frequency, or if there is an issue with it. Because I've had video mode where all of a sudden it's like, oh, and maybe that happens during picture and you can't.
Right.
Yeah, you just don't know.
Right. But I think video mode plays a role.
Brett, it sounds like scrapes are a pretty big part of your strategy. Do you have any kind of like finicky, finickiness is the word I was going to use there, but like special things you like to do with scrapes? Anything different than use vine scrapes? Are you pulling down branches? Is there a special strategy?
Hunt the natural ones. And honestly, I stayed away from synthetics even for a long time, and I tested a lot of them, and like jokingly, like tested some. I was like, what? Like these guys, they're marketing like charging this much. Like, can you believe it? And I tried some. I was like, okay, actually, there was some merit.
Yeah.
But for the most part, like my scrape strategy is hunting the first scrape outside the bedroom. If I'm getting aggressive, especially like on a public land trip, or even like just to understand where that is so you can monitor it on a private parcel. But otherwise, like, don't get me wrong, I'll throw up a cedar post with an oak branch. I'll throw them on the food plot. Maybe it's you got 2 acre food plot, but you got to draw in front of that camera. I'll use it in that strategy. I don't always use a synthetic scent, and I've had certain brands where I'm like, that didn't do shit, Yeah. And then all of a sudden one kind of seems like it maybe did. So I don't know.
How about in your food source? Like, so we talked about the perfect setup. If I can pull them out to the food on the east there, you've got a box blind icon on the screen there. Do you put a scrape or anything like that in front of that, the blind, the hunting location?
At least one. And I think in some of my scenarios next year, like I'm going to have a mass amount of them. So it's almost a scrape line on the easterly edge of my food plot, pull them across, give them multiple reasons to come check multiple scrapes. Like I get it. You want one to be within bow range, and I get that. But like, I'd rather give them 5 reasons across the food plot instead of 1. I guess that's how I'm thinking about it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What Brett, one of the things that I used to run in all the time is like everything that we're talking about is perfect, right? But the reality is for a lot of these guys, like they aren't going to produce giant deer, right? The neighborhood just isn't going to do it. And so how have you had to or try to address that with the landowner of what I would consider realistic goals for the property?
I think it's important to kill the best buck in your neighborhood. Like, don't get tore up with what's happening on social media. Like, if somebody kills 200-inch deer every year, is it possible? Sure, but they're putting a lot of behind the scenes improvements or whatever. They're just doing things that either you're not going to do or there's just more to the story. So don't let that falsify your mindset as to what you can do on your property. There's good neighborhoods where you can kill a booner on 20 acres. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's important to set your standards on the best buck in your neighborhood or the top caliber buck in your neighborhood. And guess what? In the Upper Peninsula, that might be a 115-inch deer.
Yeah.
And guess what? In Southern Iowa, it might be a 195, 200. So I think it's just important to realize where you are, and we'll make the best of it wherever we are. But like even my hunting strategy, like nobody's going to believe me, but like I there's something to be said when I go to the Upper Peninsula and I hunt, and I can go mano-a-mano with a 5-year-old buck that's 110 inches or whatever, you know, that means just as much to me because I had to go mano-a-mano and hunt that deer down. Like there's even a part of me that sometimes, even as the farm manager guy, it's like, are we just farming deer? And like, you kind of got to get back to your roots. And so like those hunts mean a lot to me when I can go mano-a-mano and test the skill set still. But yeah.
That's good. And I look at that and that, do they look to you to help them understand what that is in the area? And you know, is that looking at trail camera pictures? Is that just familiarity with where they're at? Like what does that come down to? Or do you leave it as broad as like, hey, it's like, you know, you're in whatever, Pennsylvania, odds of you seeing a 170 are not good here.
Everybody runs trail camera, so we start with their best trail camera photo, and I don't care if it's midnight or 1 a.m. Cool. Like that buck existed.
Yeah, there's potential.
Existed and your property was only a 2 or 3 out of 10 at this point, and he existed. So like we can realistically say that maybe every couple of years he comes back. Something of that caliber comes back.
There you go.
We know just a step lower than that is absolutely probably attainable on a yearly basis. You know what I'm saying? So it all starts with their best trail camera pictures over the past couple of years, and it does not bother me whether it's a midnight photo or not. Like I said, I think the deer are still there a lot of times in daylight hours, and from a hunting strategy standpoint, there's a time and a place where I'm going in even with midnight photos because, like I said, they're only catching a small percentage. We start with the trail camera photos and the history that they have with the property.
I think that's
or that I have with clients that are sometimes 2-3 miles away. I've had enough clients at this point where like I had one this year, and I was like, so what are the neighbors doing around here, knowing I've been on the neighbor's property?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't think really doing much. I'm like, I didn't tell them. I've literally been across the road. So like, it's cool to see what's going on in those areas. But there's not too many areas where I haven't been within, I don't want to say a handful of miles, but relatively close, you know, all over the country at this point throughout most of the whitetails range.
I think the picture thing is it's an interesting take because I do that even with the properties I own or I buy. It's like, you know, if I get a picture of a deer that's 160-inch 5-year-old, I'm like, okay, potential's here, right? Like maybe it's not ready. This property's not ready to do it all the time yet or every year yet, but like at least if I can see that, because there's plenty of places in what people would consider like really good whitetail areas where I'm like, dude, the best picture they have is a 3-year-old that's 140 inches. And I'm like, you've been here 5 years and I haven't seen a picture over a 3-year-old deer. That's not good. Like that's a bad sign.
Yeah, exactly. And hunting pressure obviously plays a role in that. A lot of different things. They're not even reading their maximum potential. So like sometimes you got to just look at what's going on. Okay, are we one of like 50, 40 acre parcel owners in this area?
Yep.
And so like, hey man, the potential to grow a giant is here, but like we got to get 10 other people on board maybe to get there.
Exactly.
Which is next to impossible. But yeah.
Cool.
Every neighborhood could do it. Or not every neighborhood, but like, I don't know. It's just a matter of seeing what's going on in that neighborhood, and then that's how I determine really what's possible or what's attainable for.
I think that's
it's always free.
That's a great answer on how to do it.
It's so easy to get tore up with what the hell's like going on Instagram. And you're like, oh, I got to kill a 200-inch deer, bro. I'm all over, and it is hard to find. Like they are hard to find. 170-inch deer now is that's a giant. I don't care what anybody says. Like to the majority of deer hunters, we find ourselves we're almost like elitist. Like we look at them like good deer.
Yeah.
The younger version of you, when you were 12 years old, you would have saw 170-inch deer, maybe like in PA or depending on where you're hunting.
Biggest buck I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, you missed your pants.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So like, I don't know. It just all depends where you're at and everything. But yeah, I don't know. I'm rambling, but go ahead.
Oh, I lost my question.
Well, I'll ask one while you're thinking about it. Yep. So you're traveling a lot here, and we've had this discussion more and more. Are you running into people fencing properties?
Not as much. I'm well aware of it. I'm
not saying you advise it. I'm just saying like it's being advised out there for sure.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't recommend it. I think that's wrong. If I had to be honest with you, no, I don't see it quite as much. But if I had to be honest with you, there's other things that I see where guys are, I don't know, they're putting a lot of money into their farms and they're bringing it from someplace else and they're putting it on their farms. And it's like some of the things I do see, it's like, oh, you spent that much to do something like this, or the neighbor allegedly spent that much to do this. I'm seeing more of the introduction of certain things to a property than you would believe. Yeah, honestly.
Introduction of wildlife, like animals. Interesting.
Allegedly, maybe.
Fudge, man. That doesn't surprise me one bit at all.
So, and I would never accuse, like, I'm not going to accuse somebody that I can't prove it, but like you see people are managing very heavily, but you wonder what is naturally attainable.
Well, that's that's why I asked about like what's the expectation for a lot of these guys. We can manage this property to a T, but if the natural, cap is X, like that is what the goal is. Like,
How does that come out, Brett? Is that like kind of early on in a consult? You're like, well, hey, what have you guys done here? Well, we managed this timber, we did this, and also, one big thing is this guy told us to let these deer out, and we did that.
There are guys that kind of just don't give a shit.
Yep. Oh yeah, we know.
This is their playground.
Yep.
And I'm not saying they're playing God, but like
damn close to it, right? I mean, the reintroduction.
Certain parts of the country or certain states that you see that more prevalently than others.
Generally, in the less desirable areas, actually, where like they watch enough TV and they want their farm to be like Southern Iowa, but they're nowhere close.
Really?
Yeah, and somebody owns like a big old chunk, and they just want to make it better. The science is kind of interesting though, like whether or not that spreading that seed actually helps the herd on a larger scale. But at the same time, at least they got 1 or 2 to hunt. You know what I'm saying? Or 13 or 14 or 20.
Have you seen any evidence of that? Like you went on a farm where that happened and they have giant deer?
If I had to be like at that time or in the future?
Like in the future.
If I had to be honest with you, that's a scenario I don't keep tabs on because I don't necessarily want to be associated with it.
Right. Sure. Which I think is smart.
Yeah, I don't care to be a part of it. And then at the end of the day, like I've never seen anybody let out deer on their property.
Sure.
Some guy might be bullshitting me. I don't know.
Sure.
But you either hear about it or you hear about a neighbor doing it, and then one runs in front of a camera with a collar. Like, well, I don't know. Like, just yeah.
Wow.
I see that more than I see the fences. And I'm not saying I see it a lot, but I see it enough to concern me. Especially with big parcel owners that just want to make it their playground. But the fencing thing, I see it somewhat. I believe, like I said, is it too good to be true? If you run an easterly fence for a half mile on the easterly side of your property, your deer can't get downwind to you. Strategically, you can't beat that.
I mean, dude,
I get it.
Yeah. It is pretty foolproof, right? Like, how would they ever know? How would anyone ever know?
I made this claim, like I basically talked about that on social media, and people are like, well, what's the difference if it's a river? What's it? Well, a deer cross a river. I don't know. Like it's an 8-foot fence. He's not crossing it, and he's going to use it as a form of edge habitat, and he's going to walk down it right to you.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, I get it. You got a shitty neighbor, and I've had them. I've had guys sitting on the line as I walk into my stand with no orange on during gun season, but like, and they're only the field edge hunter. Like they ain't got nothing. Their deer are coming from my way, but like something morally just doesn't feel right.
No, Brett. What I mean is, how would it, like, as far as letting deer out, how would anybody ever know? Like that's what I mean.
Oh, dude, you would be surprised at the number of undercover wildlife agents out there.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
You say that, but I know there's some areas like where there's almost next to no, like, and I guess it depends on the scenario, especially if they catch wind of something like this going on. But like, there's some areas that are so minimally monitored because you'll get like an agent that he nails somebody for something, and maybe the judge has a very liberal view on things and throws it out of court every time. And then
very possible.
I know it happens in certain areas. Like I know people at this point, sadly or whatever, but like, so like whether they're not even putting in time to put in the effort to catch people, or then straight up this county doesn't even have a guy anymore. Like that happens quite often too.
Well, maybe I'm not familiar enough with the regulation of like game farms. Like, do they have to keep a log of every deer and report that?
Here's
they're like, this one's missing. You're like,
here's the problem in most states, not all, because I don't know all the regs. In most states, the deer farming industry is not regulated by the DNR or Game Commission. It's regulated by the Department of Agriculture because they're considered livestock. So 2 separate agencies doing the management. that becomes the issue in that, yes, they are supposed to follow certain regulations. Yes, they have procedures. Yes, they have, reporting and things like that they're supposed to do. That's why they have testing and, for CWD and brucellosis and everything else. But two different agencies, so two different functions of what's happening there. I mean, there's not a doubt in my mind the reason that Ohio is producing such big deer is because of deer farming leaks.
Yeah.
And to the point of like, if you told me, hey, if I brought 10 pregnant does and I released them on my farm, do I think that that's going to make an impact on genetics? I don't know. My gut reaction would be no, because you essentially have to trump all of the natural genetics in an area. And I don't know how many generations that's even going to take. For instance, the genetics might not even be the limiting factor. It could be nutrition.
Sure.
Right? Like
age, more likely.
Age. There's so many factors. Now, in a state like Ohio, which had as many deer farms as Texas and Pennsylvania at one time, and especially when we got into the housing crisis of people were basically bottoms were falling out and they've got deer and they don't want to feed them and they just let them out.
Mm-hmm.
You do that in enough places over enough generations, over enough time, like, yeah,
or even accidentally. You know what I mean? It's like not.
Yeah, I mean, a tree falls on a fence. Like, how many times? How long does it take for them to do it?
Every single person knows a story of so and so's deer got out or whatever, and like it was out for
100%.
The month of October, November, and then it's just like, oh, maybe they caught it, maybe they didn't eventually.
No doubt in my mind. So I think that has been a big contribution because I mean, and it's not to pick on it, but like if you look at some of these deer coming out of Ohio, like they look like pen-raised deer.
Right.
It's like white antlers, giant, gnarly, non-typical frame out of Columbus, Ohio. I'm like,
some do for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ohio's always thrown me for a loop. Like some of it is so rugged, depending on where you're at. It's like it just doesn't make sense why this caliber of deer is here sometimes.
That's exactly it. The soil isn't that good. Like, I mean, you're getting $85 cash rent where you're at. It's not like you have soil that is producing, insane bushels per acre. But yet the potential for 200-inch deer is there in your area all the time.
I would agree.
They just need to get age.
Yeah, right.
So it's a really weird discussion on it. But in terms of the people releasing them or bringing them in, there are definitely a lot of there's federal agents, wildlife agents that are really the ones that are responsible for that interstate transportation and stuff. But yeah, could they get through? Absolutely. Do some of these guys do it? For sure.
Mm-hmm. There's definitely guys out there. It's funny too. Like when you meet him, you're like, oh, this guy doesn't give a shit. Like he's just, he doesn't care if it's illegal. He doesn't even think about it. He's just like, I just did it.
Well, that's the thing. I think a lot of times, like people, whether it's the neighbor, whoever it is, like however, like I think like people just like, oh, that's what I wanted to do. Like, why was that a problem for? Like, why not? I just want bigger deer. It's fine. Yeah,
it's a really weird. There's a lot of people that don't. They're like, they don't even understand why.
You're
it's
like,
a problem.
Yeah, right, okay.
They're just like, what do you mean that's and. As crazy as it is to relate to it, they're like, look at all the people that are like stocking pheasants here, or stock quail here, or whatever. Like that's how they look at it. I just stock trout in my pond. Like, what's the big deal?
Yeah,
it is. I get it, and it's.
So why is it legal to stock a property with pheasants and not?
That's a good point.
Deer.
That's a good point.
That was a great point.
As soon as you said that, I was like,
are the pheasants like not able to breed and replicate, or they just it's volatile enough of a species they know it won't survive?
No, I mean, I don't even think any of that is looked at. So I'd say the few things that are around it is, and I don't know how pheasants from a farming standpoint are regulated. I actually think that those bird farms are regulated under the game commissions and DNRs versus the livestock side, which is where deer are. Mm-hmm. The problem with most of the deer stuff is the drugs that they're using for antibiotics and things like that aren't USDA approved for human consumption. So if that deer gets out and we eat it, then essentially it's not been approved for human consumption.
Are they not treating the birds with anything?
I don't know. Mm-hmm. I have no idea. I'm not a bird farmer.
That's a good question. Why can you stock pheasants and not deer?
And a lot of it is disease oriented, right? Which I assume with birds would be the same. I mean, there's avian influenza is a huge factor in things. West Nile, transportation, like obviously that's mosquitoes.
And pheasants get out, they go on other properties and nobody cares. They're just like, great.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
I get it, man. I don't know. Like I said, the only thing I can pinpoint is disease, but then again, I don't know how you combat that with avian influenza and other things. And then for sure, I know for sure the drug stuff because dude, we were given, like even the EHD vaccine, we were given EHD vaccines to a lot of our pen-raised deer. Mm-hmm. That's not USDA approved for human consumption. Mm-hmm. So, or FDA approved for human consumption,
Sure,
however you want to look at it. So like, I don't know how that stuff factors in. But it was the same. And again, you can look at it when, so I did a whole bunch of contraceptive research for like overpopulation areas. And then like up in New York, like Staten Island and stuff, they would basically trank these deer and give them an immunocontraceptive. So it was still it was the stupidest thing. Deer were still overpopulated in the area, but they would put an immunocontraceptive in them to basically sterilize them.
Mm-hmm.
From my understanding, that wasn't FDA approved, and those deer were walking around. Now, given they were in Staten Island, New York, that probably wasn't getting hunted and people were eating them. But
why
still,
wouldn't they just shoot them? They'd be like, that deer can't have babies.
Yeah. I don't know. Trust me, it was not it was the politics of the town. They didn't want them hunted and killed. They just wanted them sterile.
Okay.
And
they're happy with the deer they have. They just don't want any more.
Well, they were already overpopulated. That was the problem. I'm like, even if we sterilize them, there's still too many deer.
Okay. All right.
Anyways, blue state. What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
That's just how it was. Like,
interesting. What else? Not necessarily like illegal stuff or whatever, but so you say, hey, you don't see a lot of fences, but you from time to time you're coming across what we just talked about.
People are doing extreme stuff.
What else have you seen on some of these properties that you're like, holy cow, I can't believe you did that? Or
do you see a lot of people feeding in places that feeding is not legal? Yeah. Okay.
90% of the time.
Yeah.
90%.
Do they know that it's not legal, or they just have no idea?
Generally the guys that are bringing me on, like, they're well versed in what's the whitetail world enough. They know what's right and wrong.
Yeah. But they're just doing it anyways.
It's not my job to play RoboCop and like, but it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
And what you're seeing is feeders, like an actual feeding program, or just like throwing out some corn piles to hunt over?
Corn piles. Yeah. And I could make sense of a supplemental feeding program all day long.
Me too.
Without a doubt. Yeah. But like, no, it's like for hunting. It's for, I mean, maybe sometimes it's behind the house, but like, no, it's everywhere.
Wow.
I can say that with full confidence.
Yeah. I'm not surprised, honestly.
So here's the thing. I've heard your discussions on like some of the baiting stuff in some of your states. Like, how much does it really change people's idealisms or what they're actually doing? Based off of what I'm seeing, people are doing it regardless. Now they're not going to do it to the extreme truckload.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, if you're baiting in a state where baiting's not legal, I bet it's pretty freaking effective.
More so.
Yeah, I guess all your neighbors are doing it, but no, yeah.
Definitely more effective than a state where it is
If
legal.
everybody's doing it, then it's like, okay, they're spread out. If one person's doing it.
Wow, 90%. That would be high. I'm sure it's skewed because of, your clientele is they're serious. They're serious, you know what I mean?
They want to do whatever they have to do to get a deer a lot of times.
Yeah.
That's what
I am surprised, but I'm not at the end of the day.
I mean, there's underground culvert tunnels to enclosed box blinds.
Oh, I love that. I've thought about that so many times.
Jared's like, put me in touch with them.
Have you? Are there any that you're like, this is awesome? Like, this is.
Oh, it's insane, and like the amount of effort that it took for whether them or they hired somebody to do it is like, I mean, if you're willing to do it, I guess
go ahead. Culvert. That would be the way
they
to
got
do
like
it.
Harriet
so they
Tubman,
dug a ditch and
through.
then drop a culvert, and then they walk through a tunnel. Oh, I love that.
You would love that.
I've thought about it so many times.
Yeah,
I mean, it works.
Another good way I've thought about this too is like, just for fun. It used to be a zip line until they invented drones, and I was like, you could just drop me right here, dude. Just pick me up, take me way up, and I could even fly it myself.
Shoot, Jared's gonna have like 40 culverts on his property.
Dude, he would absolutely do it.
Can you imagine?
It'd be like Vietnam.
Can you imagine if you just like blank slate, like bought a clean 40 and then just like built it from scratch, like dug trenches through the whole thing, like it doesn't friggin' hurt.
You never literally lay down ground scent because you're under the ground.
Under the ground.
Ever. Yeah, you just pop up at full draw. There's an elevator, it just raises you up like Beyonce.
Like a concert, like a Taylor Swift concert.
Exactly.
Yeah. I would just have it pop me up in a food plot and I just jug them and then like, go back under the ground. They wouldn't even know what happened to them. Look like Rambo.
Jeremy's his coffin style.
I just open it up and just knife them in the throat and go back in. Wow.
I love the concept.
People do whatever it takes to kill a big deer. People get real crazy about it. And so like I look at it from a fair chase standpoint. It's like, how much farther, like if I really care about the longevity of the species, it's like, I get it, but I don't agree with that for the long term, like longevity of the species. And granted, I don't know if we're ever headed in the right direction anyway, no matter what decisions we make right now. It seems like it's tough, but I will say even like I've slowed down on the trophy, and this is a bad thing for me to say being in my line of work, but like the trophy side of things, I don't see a future in hunting with if everybody was a trophy hunter. Like I think that camp and getting people involved, like even on my own properties, I'll be honest with you, I could manage them better to kill bigger bucks, but I'd rather get somebody involved that doesn't have the opportunities that I have. And so I think that's more the future of hunting. So I find myself as I get deeper into this, like caring more about the resource and what feels right. Now I'm not going to be a tattletale and I'm not going to tell people how to live their lives, but that's how I go about it, you know?
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Beast Broadheads.
Dude, Beast Broadheads. Man, we've been advocating for and shooting expandable, especially big expandable broadheads for years and years now. And it just seems like they just keep making them better and better. And ultimately, with the relationship we've forged with the Bowmars this past year, we're just super excited to be shooting the Beast Broadheads this year.
I mean, this broadhead it's the world's sharpest expandable broadhead out there. It has best penetration, and it's got bone-avoiding technology. Ultimately, we want to create the most trauma possible on a deer when we release an arrow. The Beast Broadhead does that for us every time.
So right now you can use code HUNTR, HUNTR, for a discount on anything on the Beast website. So definitely go check out beastbroadheads.com. You say you've heard some of our conversation. I'm not sure exactly which ones, but like we see a glass ceiling because of essentially like the technologies and the tools that we're allowed to use. We're like, well, yeah, if all of us can be that effective at killing deer, certainly it's not sustainable. Anybody can go out at any given time and kill a 3-year-old buck. It's not hard. So I would agree. That's not sustainable. So either we stop doing it, which I don't think anybody wants, or they restrict that in some way. They limit our ability to do that, to target a certain age class of bucks.
I mean, we could go the drone route and definitely talk about that. Like, I'm not for drones. Like, and I've even done like the surveys on properties. I think
for anything, like just on all fronts, you're against drones.
Recovery's cool.
Okay,
it's necessary. Don't be wasting animals. You know, that's what it comes down to. I can deal with that.
Agreed.
As far as a recovery method.
Sure.
But otherwise, like getting back into it, it's just a displacement of hunters. Like if I do monetarily very well in my life and I decide to buy 1,000 acres, I only hunt it myself. Well, like I could realistically hunt 20 people on that property, and I would just rather do it that way. So if we all had this trophy mentality, I want to kill the biggest buck possible. I tell you right now, we wouldn't manage does, and it's insane in the Buffalo counties and some of these big buck areas. The doe population is terrible, so we're not managing appropriately from that standpoint. It would be the demise of the species, especially from a quality standpoint in that facet. And you're displacing hunters, and then also the technology side of things. Like I'll just say it, I'm anti-drone. I see a lot of guys getting a little bit louder about that, and you don't want to be the grumpy old man on the internet, but also like if you feel a certain way and you got merit to back it up, you should probably talk, because there's probably a lot of other people who are afraid to talk, feel the same way as you. You know?
Yeah, well, and certainly they're getting abused in a lot of cases. So I mean, nobody wants to see that.
Yep.
Got to be. Yeah. And I think I don't know. You just hear stories, but like, is it happening within our industry too? Like, no, I don't
100%.
know. Like,
oh yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to say it. I'm glad you did.
For sure.
But yeah,
absolutely. No different than 90% of people are feeding when they're not supposed to be feeding, or baiting when they're. Yeah, it's the same way. It's abused.
I'm not. Once again, like you. How do I want to say this? You meet a camera guy who worked with him for a long time, and he says something, and you go back, watch an old video, and why is his head behind a hill when you shoot? And what is he? It's just it's reality.
Yeah. No, that's it. Yeah, it's a weird place, man. I mean, big deer make people do crazy shit, and I get it, and I love big deer, and I like the technology aspect of it, but the problem was for a long time there, the state agencies didn't have to worry about the advancement of all these things. Therefore, like deer hunting could continue to be cool and access was available. And then as all of this technology, came basically at the speed of light, essentially ahead of everything that we have, they didn't pivot and they didn't move. And now it's wrecking it. It's wrecking hunting, deer hunting as we know it at this point.
Turning it into a video game.
Yeah.
I mean, you can make the call even on trail cameras there, but like looking back at my study, like how much are they really helping? I think they're hurting you in a lot of scenarios because people don't use them properly. So like I could go either way on that one, but even that one could get weird. But like when you can real time go find a deer and like dictate your hunt off of it, which I don't care what anybody says. Like if you're not doing it good, you're not supposed to be, but there are guys doing it. And these guys who are willing to do all sorts of other crazy shit on their farms, like it ain't nothing for them to go spend what do they cost? 10, maybe 20 grand and maybe less now on these drones just to go find a deer.
It is literally like you mentioned a video game. It's like Cabela's Big Buck, or whatever. You remember that video game where you're like, you could be in the real hunter mode where it was like you couldn't see anything. It was like you just had to walk through the woods or whatever. But then there was the cheat mode where you could just zoom out and see the animals where they're at and they're pulsing. Like that's pretty much what that's pretty much what drones are.
Here's the funny
then
thing.
You just walk to it and shoot it.
So these new DJIs, the Matrix 4T, are like $7,000. So like half the price of what like the original big dogs and stuff were. But the point I was going to get at is I've talked to, just from the other side of my business, talked to a lot of people in like DOD type stuff. Dude, no government property, facility, etc. is allowed to have a DJI drone on it right now because of the Chinese influence. Like they really believe that those drones are somehow wired back into surveillance from China. And so like none of them, no government organization, land, etc. But then I'm like, dude, how many people are flying a thermal drone right now over Army Corps of Engineer land or National Forest or whatever? Like a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so it's, if the government
so
is...
you're talking security concern.
Well, I'm just saying if the government
is... Chinese are going to come kill all our deer?
No, they're not going to go.
We're back to underground tunnels.
Yeah. We sit in trees for fun with weapons. Like they're not going to come and land. But if they're seeing as much of a problem in it from that side, it's like clearly they're being abused on our end of things.
Yeah, sure.
Like I said, it changes the outlook of hunting long term. And granted, I don't know if that's the only problem. There's a lot of problems, but it's just I worry about the resource, and I know people call me goofy for that. But like I care about hunting enough, like I care about the resource long term to the point where I'm not willing to do crazy stuff like turn it into a video game and stuff like that. And not everybody feels that way. Some people just like hunting. We love hunting to the point where we want to see it forever. And some people are like, I want to kill a big buck right now. So that's how I feel about it. And that's so. If it's legal. Or if it's legal, and granted the finding of them, maybe in some states you can do it same day type deal.
Yeah.
But like, just because legal doesn't make it right.
Well,
like,
dude,
on your wife might be legal, but it ain't right. It's like one of those scenarios.
We talk about it all the time. The fact is deer are a finite resource, but our age group has got to the point now where like our grandpaps and some of our dads, like, dude, when they found a deer track, they were like, their minds were blown, right? Most of us in our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s even, like we grew up in heyday of deer hunting. There's a deer in every woodlot of every place, anywhere we look, right? Like we literally are dodging them with our cars on a daily basis. So the mindset of the average hunter, and a lot of guys get pissed off about this, the mindset of the average hunter is deer is an unlimited resource. You could literally line them up like big buck hunter, and I could just keep shooting them. They'll just keep coming. The reality is that's not the case at all. No. There's a finite number of them. And if you screw it up and you abuse it, they won't come back. They'll be gone.
Yep. Which you think, the bigger powers, the higher powers sometimes probably just want, maybe two. You just wonder how, like, if we don't start managing herds ourselves, like what potentially could take place. Like you see like the shootouts and stuff like that people do just for disease control and stuff like that. You just wonder what it could turn to.
Sure.
At the snap of a finger. And that's why I think it's important for people to, especially like people who have a little bit of a voice, and I know it's hard because there's sponsorships involved and stuff like that. Sometimes give your damn opinion, because there's a lot of people that end up having the same opinions as you and the thought process as you. Like, I'll be honest, like there was a time where I wasn't very true to myself as far as like the caliber of deer that I needed to kill to be happy. I felt like competition. Now this past year, as far as a lot of my media has gone, I've just been more honest with myself and posted accordingly. The amount of engagement that I've gotten, because more people think with that mindset, like it's been astronomical, millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of views. Like it's been insane. So like, I think it's important to speak up if you see something, because if you never speak up, it never changes. And that's for damn sure. So I see other guys out there like just calling this drone stuff out. And like I said, if you're not abusing it, great, but there's guys that are, and that's the reality of it. So you need to do something about it.
Yeah.
What are some of those things, Brad? I mean, we kind of covered drones, but what are some things that you think are concerning for the future of deer hunting, and like what can be done to change them?
The drone thing is one that expedites the process like super fast. Like that makes me scared, like in the coming years. The weapon thing, here's we can go into crossbows, and I know people are probably just rolling their eyes already, but like managing that appropriately, it's a more efficient weapon. I'm not saying you can't use them, and in fact, I think the alternative should maybe be like, I can't use a magnified sight on a lot of my like compound, like in a lot of states on a compound. Like maybe we should be able to take the optics off of a crossbow. You can still use it. And then maybe it's archery. And people make the claim like it is archery, but like okay, I can't use a rifle during muzzleloader season, and they're similar. They're more similar. Those two things are more similar than archery and crossbows. But like, okay, maybe you take the crossbow optics off it, so you don't have a
that would level it up for sure.
Yeah, that changes the game, and it's still a much more efficient weapon. It's got a flatter trajectory. That changes the game. Drones, the weapons, and just the mismanagement of the herd in general are the things in certain states that scare me the most. But that technological side can get carried away very fast.
Mm-hmm. One of the big things we've talked about with a lot of state agencies and guys that are seriously concerned about it is, and I don't see it this way, but it is the devaluing of antlerless deer and therefore causing a problem in antlerless harvests, just not killing enough of them. What are your thoughts around that? Obviously, I think Wisconsin's probably similar to a Pennsylvania where traditionally we kill does. It's just the thing that we do. We all, obviously, a lot of us want to kill buck, but we kill does.
Let me just throw this into that conversation. Dude, I don't necessarily think that we as a hunting population value antlerless deer any less. I don't think that's true. I just think that the guys that are willing to kill them or would like to don't have access to the lands that they're on.
That would make sense.
That's what I think.
The buck hunters are basically choking out the guys who are 100%. Just deer hunters.
Yep, they're occupying and surveying properties, and they're mini doe factories basically.
Yep. Buffalo County, for prime example, is no longer what it used to be. I don't care what anybody says about it. You can look at the statistics all you want and tell me about the Boone and Crockett bucks. When's the last time you knew somebody that submitted their buck to the book?
They
posted on
Dude,
Instagram. That's how they get validation.
Our guy in Ohio all the time is flaunting Ohio's number 2. Stack us up against Iowa. I'm like, right.
Yeah. So anyway, literally that's those statistics we can call Buffalo County the best, whatever. But Buffalo County is not what it used to be. You see what you see because somebody posts it, and it's the occasional giant.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is nobody buys land in Buffalo County for $10,000 an acre to kill does. And so you go out there, and the buck to doe ratio seems like it's 15-1 sometimes, and therefore the genetic potential is never met, and it's still a good area. But Southwest Wisconsin, I'll just throw it down the drain right off the rip here. I've been looking to buy down there, but it's $8,000-$10,000 an acre, and now I started to keep track of all these people that either hire me or think about hiring me, and I ask, what's the biggest buck you have on camera? And you would be shocked just to see how not low quality, but low quality in comparison to what it could be.
Yeah.
That area is because people buy land in these areas to kill big bucks, not to manage a herd. And you could blame the internet, you could blame the industry. At the end of the day, you make your own decisions. You're a grown man. Don't let the internet dictate how you live your life or what you do. But big bucks get people excited, and so they don't shoot does in a lot of these high priority areas that used to be good. And so you almost, if you're really diehard, got to find some of these secondary areas, which I see them, but the average Joe doesn't see these areas to go buy land in, and it's still more affordable there. But yeah, these Buffalo counties of the world are not what they used to be. And I know guys are going to say, oh, yeah, look at my pictures. Yeah, look at your buck to doe ratio, too, and what that buck could have been.
Yeah. Yep. I think that's a big point. I like your point about that we don't devalue them.
I really think that's true. I think there's lots of people out there that would love
true.
To have venison. There is issue, other things get pointed to is just guys aging out of hunters.
Yeah.
Or
processing fees being all places to take them to get processed.
Is real, but I think there's guys that are willing to shoot does that just can't access the properties that
they were your permission guys mainly.
Yep.
Then now there is not a lot of permission ground available to do it. So they get pushed to public, and that is a desert. They kill them if they were there, but they're not there.
And because of that, the states are scrambling because in a lot of states they're we can't control the deer population because of exactly that dynamic we described. So they, in our opinion, misdiagnosis, and they try to keep making it easier, thinking that we're going to kill more does because of it. And all we do is fight harder with our neighbors to target a specific set of bucks. So they're making the problem worse.
Yeah, and adding more seasons, we know that doesn't help, or adding more tags, giving people
adding baiting into a season. Baiting is the worst. It's the number one culprit. And so we're in Ohio. It's one of the most liberal. We can bait, run a cell camera over it. I can throw a drone up and literally land it and go hunt them right there the same day. Anything and above, crossbows have always been in the archer season, blah, blah, blah. Season goes from end of September to first week in February. Literally could not get any more liberal. And we cannot control our doe population, and they can't figure it out. They can't figure out why.
Nobody has access because everybody's choking each other out for it.
Yeah.
From a management standpoint, guys, you need to realize, not you, but like people that are watching this, like if you tame that doe herd and get people on board because you can't handle the issue by yourself, you got to realize that the genetic potential of your deer like is going to increase. Like they are going to meet their genetic potential if there's less social stress, more browse, like more places for this buck to be back in his own little zone and doesn't have to worry about 10 other deer bedding in there right next to him and scaring the hell out of him and jump like that dynamic. Like you want bigger deer, guys, manage a doe herd. And I don't care if it's earn a buck. I don't care. Like at some point you got to make a very unpopular decision if you're these higher powers and make people do it. And yeah, people, whatever, they'll lie about their registration and stuff like that.
Sure.
But there's people that'll follow the rules too, and it's going to make a difference. You got to do something at some point, even if it's an unpopular decision.
And that's the problem with most of these, and Ohio being one, is like there's no change.
It's funny.
There's no action.
I find myself yelling at these guys sometimes, like literally on podcasts. I'm like, do something. Like just literally acknowledge the problem and do something. They think it's great. They're like, well, Record Book says, we have more submissions than ever before. I'm like, that means nothing.
Like, listen, there's nowhere to hunt.
They're in a position to care about the resource, but the reality is you care about the resource more than they do. They're collecting a paycheck. It's just going to work and not trying to ruffle feathers. That's the way that's got to be.
I know. It's just a job.
You even look at some of these states where people are in charge of managing the state deer herd, and then you hear the people talking like they don't even manage a herd on their own property. So like how into this are they? Do they truly have a love for this, or is it a good paycheck in an industry that's hunting related? And I like hunting, and
there's a massive disconnect there, man, for the amount of money, not even just from like deer hunting licenses and stuff, but if we look at like the PR funds that are coming through from sales of, excise taxes on ammunition, on guns, on everything hunting oriented, like the deer hunting movement is a massive economic wave. And what these states fail to realize is like the mismanagement that's happening is slowly chipping away at that wave. And so, more opportunity, more liberalization, like that is not increasing in more dollars and cents spent on this stuff. And it's going to be a problem here. Maybe not in 2 years, but 5, 10, I don't know, like depending on which state you're in, it's going to be a massive issue. And so they're all worried about losing hunters, but we're losing them already. And we're walking towards a cliff because all those guys who are just deer hunters, dude, they're all going to quit soon because they don't have anywhere to go.
It seems like
it's not a good experience.
It seems like eventually, like way down the road, it just turns into rich landowners versus like the federal government in terms of like what's left of the deer population.
Yeah, because the government's going to be mowing them down.
Yeah, right. They're going to try to take it into their hands as much, even to the point of, I'm sure it would happen, like biological, disease-related activity, whether they'd admit it or not, versus, like I said, rich landowners who will occupy and monitor as much as they possibly can, even to the point of fences, to try to obtain their goal of trophy animals.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, Jared, but I think there's a point in time where we probably come back in time and think about exactly what you just said and said, holy shit, he called it big landowners versus government. Because here's the thing, I've heard you guys say, like, I'm gonna hunt, I'm gonna find a way. I'll have land.
That's it, man.
Like, and I'm gonna keep expanding upon everything that I can to insulate myself from the world. Sadly, right or wrong, like if I don't, somebody else will, and that's right or wrong. That's what's gonna happen. And pretty soon you're gonna have a bunch of big landowners, a few hunters, and maybe when those landowners die off, the government can do something later in phase 2 when they're gone. I don't know.
Raise property taxes and take their property.
Exactly. Yeah, just make it so you can't even afford your own property anymore.
Yeah.
Oh God, it'll be such a war, dude. But yeah, and I mean that's where like a lot of the average deer hunters will get, and they get snippets, right? Just like they do with you, dude. Like they'll hear snippets from us and they're like, these guys don't know shit. That's not how people hunt. And it's like, first of all, the reason you're still hunting is because of guys like us trying to manage our herds, our lands to make things better. Then it just, they don't stay on our property. They go over here and you shoot them there, or you shoot them there. But the reality is like we're seeing things in the future that aren't happening necessarily right now, but they're coming, right? And we're looking at that foresight to it. And these guys aren't. They're just looking at like, hey, what are you talking about? Like deer season's over tomorrow. Like I don't care about hunting anymore. And I'm like, no, dude, I'm thinking about it 5 years from now.
So the question to me, to you, would be like, does more hunters help our scenario long term? Do you think?
In what way?
Well, I'm saying
just
like
in general,
access is continuing to be an issue, but like if we just have more of a voice, more hunters, does that help? Does that help the outcome of hunting?
Probably.
It does.
Because the way I look at this is the trophy hunting side of things, and I'm guilty of it. You're guilty. We like killing bucks for antlers. But if we all think that way, we divert and we push off other hunters. Where if we get more camp atmosphere and tradition back into this, there's more people involved. There's more of a voice. Maybe we stand more of a chance over the long run. And so, am I saying trophy hunting's wrong? No. But if everybody did it, I think we'd be kind of screwed. You know what I'm saying?
I look at it
so that's why it's very
two ways, man.
People involved.
If there are more hunters, we have more political power from a constituent angle, which is where this thing is managed. Yes. If I look at it from the other way, if there are less hunters, then access issues become more non-existent, and this gold rush of locking up land and securing land and stuff like that slows, if not stifles itself out completely out. Because right now, it's everybody feels pressure to go and lock up leases, lock up land, do whatever to insulate themselves.
And competition is high. So a lot of people are displaced.
So we see this in Pennsylvania. Like right now, Pennsylvania is on the up and up. There's plenty of public land for people. There's less hunters than there's ever been in the state. And we have the best deer hunting year in and year out than we've had in my entire lifetime. That's because the hunter level got to a point where there was enough access and enough places for people to go. And the deer hunting age structure, or the population age structure, increased to where now it's like, dude, we could chase 5 and 6 year old bucks in this state. I used to kill 1 year old bucks every year. So there's a teetering point there, right? And every state's going to be a little bit different. But from a political realm standpoint, the one thing that's going to steamroll almost all of us because of the way our states are is Farm Bureau and the ag side of things, right? Anything in the Midwest driven by the Farm Bureau and ag. So those guys want them dead. The whole goal is let's back bills that kills deer because that's what we want.
So in that scenario, does everybody flood to the Northwoods then?
Probably. I bet that's where your populations are. I already think right now most major ag areas are in serious jeopardy because of EHD, and I don't think
chemicals.
I don't think whitetail reproduction rates are anything like they used to be at all.
We know the science is even there for like obviously cancer with herbicides and stuff like that. Allegedly, like a lot of that stuff out there, you can't tell me it has a positive effect on that.
I know for a fact. I've seen the research. The reproductive rates are going down. What should have been like in Illinois and Iowa and all these big ag areas that at one point was like, hey, every doe has 2 fawns. It's a 2.0 recruitment rate. That's what we see. If it's 1 now, I would be surprised. Between predators and between chemicals, if it's 1 per doe, I'd be surprised.
It'd be interesting if you could let a deer live its entire life cycle. Like you put an orange vest on a deer in these farm areas, let it live its life cycle, and then you do an autopsy at the end to see how it has negatively affected the biology of the deer. Like, did it die of a tumor of this or that, or like if you can somehow measure something like that, it has a negative role. It
absolutely does. And so where you're seeing some of these big EHD outbreaks in ag country, that has the best soil anywhere, right? Should have the best native habitat soil anywhere. These deer herds aren't bouncing back.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing tied to that is reproduction. That's the only reason. It's not over hunting. And even if it was more hunting, reproduction should catch up. That's what they've told us for years. It's not doing it, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I think even like the organic food plotting, we're going to see a big wave in that. Like everybody's a little more health conscious nowadays, whether it's a political thing or whatever. But like the organic food plotting is a lot of things. Like that's something I hear people interested in.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, let's talk about like organic grass fed beef. Like people prefer that. Why? Like for the obvious
health
reasons.
conscious. Yeah.
You start looking at our animals like you're eating that at the end of the day, and we just don't think about it because it's always been that way. But it's got a negative effect on the animals, and in turn probably you because you're eating however many of them. So it plays a role.
To go back to your question too, like, and I agree with what you're saying. Obviously, the more hunters we have, the more political voice you would have. So that's like a common sense numbers answer. To your comment about like if everybody wanted to trophy hunt like that, it's just not possible, and that or however you said that. I think and not everybody is ever gonna think that way or want to be trophy hunters. I don't know what the percentage and trophy hunters is just the term that we're using, that are targeting a
guys who just want to kill big bucks,
age class of bucks or whatever. So I don't know, maybe say it's 10% of guys or wherever that number lands. I don't think we'll ever know, or at this point we surely can't know the real potential of what that is because because we're at such odds with each other. Like it's because of all the things that, Jeremy and I would point to and say are mismanagement. They're things that cause landowners to be pitted against one another. We're competing with each other because of cell cameras, crossbows, corn piles, any technology that you want to throw in there, drones. We're competing for to reach that goal. I want to kill a 5-year-old buck. You want to kill a 5-year-old buck. You want to kill a 5-year-old buck. And all of us have 10 neighbors that, just want to shoot bucks. They're happy with 2, 3, 4-year-old bucks. So now you and I need the most amount of space to do it, right? And the most amount of tools. He with the biggest corn pile wins, the most cell cameras. So we're occupying all of this space when in reality, the carrying capacity of those types of animals is probably much higher than it is right now. It's just that we're killing them all. We're killing them all with all of those tools. So if we limited some of that stuff, there would be way higher of a quality across the landscape. We essentially have more resource on the space that we have now. I think there's plenty of space for double the amount of hunters that we have now to achieve the goals that they want in their states. We're just...
you think our success rates are too high then? Just in general?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and see, but that's pitted against the state who wants us to be more successful individually because they need more deer killed.
No, not
but it's
necessarily.
the wrong deer that are being killed.
It's the wrong deer. Yeah, the state wants us to kill deer.
Yes.
And I think people are fine with it. We just want to kill bucks, like if we're just being honest about it. So the goals are at odds. That's why their management prescriptions are ineffective.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, we look at trophy hunting and even management very closely tied together, but in reality, we're trying to manage for big bucks. We're not really managing the herd to the best of our abilities, which therefore we just don't reach the goals that we really wanted to reach in the first place because we're trying to shortcut it almost. No, I completely agree with you. And so we'll never know like what the outcome is, but I guess the trophy hunting thing, like just from a simple number standpoint, definitely does divert hunters, makes me buy more land unless people hunt with me, unless I invite them to hunt with me. So even in that scenario, does hunting more hunters really matter if they got no place to go?
Right.
No, that's it, man.
Exactly. And that's the state that we're in for sure. And we aren't sitting here saying like, well, we want to protect all these does. Like, we don't care. We're happy to shoot a bunch of them.
Yeah.
I just want one big buck to chase. Right. And so it's like, how much land, how much, space do I need to occupy to achieve that goal? Right now, a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think it needs to be that way though.
Because we're efficient.
Because we're so efficient at targeting them.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, like even going across the country, like no matter where I am, I'm just kind of unimpressed with the caliber of deer that are around as well.
You're
so
not alone.
You do need to own a fair amount, which just drives the guys who have been more fortunate and make smart business decisions to buy more.
That's right.
And displace and so on and so forth.
That's exactly right.
And that's the domino that we're in. And I mean, pick a whitetail state. That's the domino that we're falling into right now is like everybody's it's a rush. More land, more access, driving up prices per acre. And frankly, like that one scares me the most because as guys who own land, right, we're not on a stable basis for our price per acre. We're on this rocky recreational value, in a lot of cases, deer value. Whereas, like, what happens if our herd gets wiped out with EHD in an area? Mm-hmm. That ain't going to hold that recreational value anymore. It's going to go down. Your land investment's going to go down. That's why I'm like,
just let more out.
When people are like, hey, go buy this stuff in Eastern Ohio. It's $10,000 an acre. I'm like, it's purely based on the fact that there's deer there. Yeah. Like, if the deer aren't there, that land's not worth $10,000 an acre.
We really are.
But
go ahead.
Even so, out of all the $10,000 per acre sections that exist in this country, and there's a fair amount of them at this point, to the guy who loves deer and loves managing deer, there's not one of them that I think is monetarily worth it right now.
Yeah, I would agree.
People will absolutely continue to keep buying them, but I can say like it doesn't necessarily correlate with 200-inch bucks because you paid $10,000 an acre. And in fact, I would say more mismanagement is taking place in those areas because you only want to kill a buck, you don't manage appropriately. And like Southwest Wisconsin is a spitting image of that. I was like, I'm going to go by there because I just believe it's a good area. And then I was like, I'm going to take a whole off season and I'm going to listen to everybody that's from this area. And whether they're a client or not, one of the first questions I'm going to ask them, what's the best buck you got on camera?
Yeah.
And they're showing me and I'm like, oh, I can go pay a third of that price and hunt that caliber.
Exactly. It's crazy, man. That is the failed realization, but it's because we're in this like warp speed rush right now, and we have been for several years of like lock up it's $100 an acre to lease land in Ohio to deer hunt right now. It's insanity,
dude. Guys are buying ground in our like a 15, 20 acre chunk. They're paying $8,500 to $10,000 an acre easy for literally the back corner of a cattle pasture that they can go back into and dump a corn pile on. And I can tell you because I'm their neighbor, the best they can hope to shoot is a 4-year-old, which, and maybe it's got big antlers compared to like where they're coming from, but I'm like, what are we doing?
It's not sustainable.
Guys are still doing it in Southwest Wisconsin, like on 40s, 80s, 100s, 200 acre parcels, and still spending that money. They come from Chicago or wherever they come from, these bigger cities. They're still spending the money on it. So it's like, it ain't going backwards. I don't see it. I don't see it getting cheaper in a lot of these areas, but the quality doesn't necessarily correlate to me when I go to a lot of these areas. It's good area, good fit, 150-inch deer. And like, that's a great deer for most people. So maybe like, if that's what they're after, great. But don't be going to these $10,000 per acre areas thinking, oh, we're going to kill 200s. Now I think you're going to be very upset if that's what you think.
I agree.
I'm afraid of like, and I don't know, man. There are times where I'm like, maybe I'm wrong statistically, but like it just seems like at some point we're just going to forget what truly giant deer were, because we just get to a point where.
I told you that with the fences, dude. The moment more and more fences go up, the more 5 and 6 and 7-year-old bucks become not cool and special. Because there
are hidden gem areas though, and I know where they are because of what I do for a living. So these areas do exist with true giants where guys, and no offense to the guys, they don't really have a lot of skills. They're killing them every year, and the land is still more affordable than you could ever imagine. And we could talk about some of that stuff off air. I'm not going to spot burn, but like, they still exist.
Yeah,
and I look there in these areas quite often, and you would be shocked. Like, we're talking the big bucks, like stuff that you're interested in killing every year and like creating a story with. They exist.
We'll talk after podcast. I bet I know what you're talking about. Maybe not. Maybe not.
I got 2 spots in mind. Maybe 3.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm good.
All right. Perfect. That was a good one, man. I thought it was a great podcast. You never
know. Out of my system.
Dude, you never know where we'll rabbit hole down on these things, and like, but it was cool. I guess before we let you go, what if people are interested contacting you to have them out to the farm or do something? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
whitetaillandmanagement@gmail.com. Hit me up on social media. Like this year, I'm just going to be honest with people, depending on where you're at, it's tough for me to fit anybody in, thankfully. But like maybe we get you on for the future. Maybe I have a spot left on a certain trip. But whitetaillandmanagement@gmail.com, or hit me up on social media, just Whitetail Land Management Services.
HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Lone Wolf Custom Gear.
Man, those Lone Wolf stands have become such a cornerstone of our equipment over, recently, but I mean, also we've been using these stands for a long time, even the original Lone Wolves. They're all built right here in the United States. The lines just keep getting better and better. Cody and Andre and the whole team just keep innovating and introducing new stuff into the line this year. And they've got some new things coming this year.
Yeah, so this year we've got the Patriot Series, which, a lot of people are talking about this as being the cheaper, just fixed position side of things. But let's be honest, they can be mobile too, right? They weigh 12 pounds, but they're built from a value standpoint. So for guys like us who want to have 3, 4, 5 preset stands out there for certain wins, we can put this Patriot Series out there, have them ready. Nothing better than slipping up into one of these fixed position stands that's already set on the right wind.
No doubt. And so this year, as of right now, you can use code HUNTR, HUNTR. It's a one-time use promo code. Gets you 10% off anything on the Lone Wolf Custom Gear website. That's any of the custom gear stuff, any of the Patriot Series. So whether you're planning on getting into one for the first time or you want to stack a big order here before the season, code HUNTR will get you 10% off.
Hunt like a wolf. Brett Smith, everyone.
Trying to remember where we left off on
Whitetail
air versus off air.
Land Management Services. I got it.
Yeah, very cool. We got it covered there. Yeah, I mean, from I would say on the same page with a lot of at least what we're seeing there. I don't know if we discovered anything. Well, we certainly learned some things about what he's seeing on the landscape of consulting.
I think the timber thing is cool to hear. Like, I think he's right. I think most people are soft-handed on the timber stuff, and that's a hard one to pull. But if you're building deer hunting properties, yeah, me too. I think that was a cool one. I like some of the eye-opening honesty type stuff of, hey, people are releasing deer. A lot of people baiting, legal or not, they're doing it, and it's like, not surprised.
Yeah,
disappointed.
Isn't that disappointing? It's like you'd like to think that people are out there doing it right, legal.
Yeah, because we're doing it right. Like I want a level playing field. Like and I say that lightly because there'll be 50 other guys that say
it just doesn't.
Well,
it just doesn't,
you own X land. Like how is it level? I hunt public and okay.
It's
get that.
It's just not interesting. Like I've shot deer over corn piles. Like you're not doing anything.
No, and I mean the supplemental feed thing, like a feeding program. I get it, but it is artificial. That's why, like, I'm still wishy-washy on the whole Iowa thing. Like, can you supplemental feed or can you not supplemental feed?
You can.
Yeah.
100%.
Which to me, is not that much different than baiting.
Well, we've covered this 100 times.
I know. I'm just saying, but like from an artificial, attraction standpoint on the property, feeding is that, right? It is changing the natural movements.
Well, you can't do it during the season.
Oh, okay.
That's where they draw the line.
Okay. Well, then I don't care.
Where I'm unsure of
I thought you could.
Where I'm unsure of the language is if it can be on the property that you're hunting or not.
During the season.
Yeah.
I think it can, because didn't Bill feed and then hunt the same property?
Well, that may be your answer. So I don't know where they drew that distinction. Well, that's
changed.
Well, no, because I guess he was hunting other spots while that bait was there. So I don't know. You'd have to ask a CO. But
anyways,
there is an effort.
Regardless,
to draw a line
though, it wasn't even supplemental feeding. It was like corn pile to kill deer illegally.
In this context, yeah, that's what.
Yeah, which I mean, obviously, if I'm the neighbor, like I have it here, dude, all the time. I told you I can't remember the last year that
it's bullshit. Frankly,
my kids have killed one on the mountain that hasn't had a belly full of corn, and there's not a cornfield within 10 miles of us. So I mean, it's like
it's bullshit. It's cheating.
It's cheating.
That's what it is.
It's exactly what it is. So yeah, I mean that, but at the end of the day, I mean, if I look at the greater picture there, and I thought Brett was great on a lot of that stuff, is like, did he seeing the same things we're seeing from a problem side and where deer hunting is going?
Yep.
And it's not in a good direction.
Nope.
And again, guys like us will find a way to deer hunt. We'll have property. We'll figure it out. The general public who wants to just deer hunt and does it as a hobby and they enjoy it, they're in deep shit.
It's going away.
Which is why we're bringing these things up, is like, dude, we're still going to deer hunt regardless. I'm trying to protect the future of deer hunting for these people because that's important. Again, we do need them out there from a political leverage standpoint.
And from a deer management standpoint.
From a deer management, I can't kill enough does. There's no way.
I can't kill enough. Exactly.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah, we all need to be a part of this. It's just we're pitted against each other under the current circumstances.
And the state's to blame for a lot of that. And the problem is because it's out of the bag, guys like us that are saying, hey, maybe we should have put that back in the bag. We're the bad guys.
Yeah.
We're the bad guys. The state's saying it's legal, and you guys are shaming me for it. Well, the state shouldn't have made it legal to begin with.
Yeah.
That's their fault. Now an adult in the room has to put it back in the bag because they did it in the first place.
Right.
Whether we're the bad guys or not, I don't care. But that's the boundaries
we don't have
that we
the
keep
authority.
pushing.
We're just sounding the alarm. Trying to have the conversation.
Platform, and I'll sound it. Just like some of these things coming out. Two bucks in Kentucky if you kill these 5 depredation does, and it's like a week earlier gun season in Pennsylvania. I'll use our platform for whatever we can. Like, these are dumb decisions. I don't know who's making them or who's talking.
What is the justification? Is it just because somebody said they wanted it? Like,
I'm sure most of them are in response to killing more deer, and that's probably coming from agricultural or insurance-based interests, would be my guess.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, okay, well, people want to kill bucks. I heard HUNTR Podcast guy say that. So let's let them kill a second buck, but they have to kill 5 does before they get that.
Which, again, I'm not at its core opposed to. I do like earn a buck as a strategy. I don't know if it's appropriate for where they're trying to.
I just think that's going to destroy the age structure of the bucks, which then causes a different problem down the line.
I just think there's not that many guys that will be able to successfully kill 5 bucks, or does rather.
5 does?
Yeah.
In a bait state? An open ground in Kentucky with a 3-week rifle season?
It's still hard. It's not hard to do, but that's just a lot of animals to deal with.
I think
and time.
I think with that carrot at the end of it, they'll figure it out. Plus, you start in September on a corn pile.
I don't know. 5 does a lot of does. Very few people right now are by themselves shooting 5 does.
We'll see.
Does it warrant a second buck tag? I don't know. Yeah.
Pushing the.
But these are the conversations that should be, while they're making a decision like that, that's what they should be discussing.
And again, I asked
what does this mean? How many more bucks will get killed as a result of something like that?
I don't think they have any idea. I don't think they've even thought about that. They're just like, they need the incentive is the extra buck tag.
Not.
We need them to kill more does.
Probably not.
What's an appropriate number? 5?
5 sounds good. Hey,
5 sounds good. Yeah. Better than 4? Yeah. Okay. 5.
Yeah, that's probably how it happened. Yeah.
And it's like, where's the biologist? What's their take? Because that's their job.
Yeah, just making recommendations.
What was the I'd love to know. Be like, dude, what was your recommendation? They may have been like
15.
Yeah, they were like, hey, I don't know. They need to kill 15, or like, I don't think they should have got a second buck tag.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah. Thanks for your input. Thanks for your recommendation.
Dude, it's crazy though that this just keeps coming out, and like, again, like it, whatever, for better or worse, it's like we're becoming a mouthpiece for a lot of this stuff of sounding the alarms and questioning things, or just even asking for data to support it. But it's like, it's every state. It's every whitetail state. Something's coming up, and I'm like, that's not right. I don't even hunt there. I don't even hunt in Michigan, and we're going to have this guy on because there's clearly a bunch of shit that's going wrong in Michigan. For some reason, they think they should have baiting back. And the Farm Bureau is supporting it. That's all I need to know is if the farm guys are supporting it, it's not good for deer hunting.
I'm very curious about the situation of Michigan, like what's going on.
We don't even hunt there, and it's like, cool, we'll be a mouthpiece, we'll go for it. Let's hear all sides, let's figure it out. But I'm like, it's a lot, man, and I'm just But again, can I criticize a Kentucky or a Pennsylvania or a Michigan for making changes when Ohio's sitting there with their hands in their pocket, not doing anything? I don't know. I may not like the changes that are being proposed, but at least they're trying to do something.
Well, and I want to stay within our bounds too, like what we understand. It's like, I mean, we know what we know, but there's things in these states, I don't know. It's like we have a few conversations, so like there's common sense stuff, but there's also things that,
sure,
Yeah,
and so we don't know everything.
That's why we try to have
point.
the guy on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and we are from Michigan. We're having people on
details.
to try to understand. And we have spoke with their deer program directors.
Chad's probably going to call me this week and be like, hey, I need to preface some stuff. Cool. Give me the info, man. Let me understand where I'm at here.
Yeah.
We're not well versed in it all. And so when somebody comes on and they say something, somebody else says, well, that guy was lying. I'm like, how was I supposed to know?
What I do know is how hunters think. You know what I mean? Like not all people, not all individuals, but generally we can see how they act in response to technologies and weapons and seasoned, you know what I mean?
You give them a bazooka and 90% of deer hunters will use the bazooka.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, dude, you see, frankly, how stupid some people are. Like, if you don't believe it, just go read some comments on like any podcast. like it's baffling, Yeah. Go to Mike Rex's Whitetail Deer 2 group or whatever.
God-given crossbow rights.
Read some of the comments on the thing that he posted,
It's wild. Yeah, man. And these people they have a vested stake, which is funny. Like, they're really passionate about it. The moment deer season ends, they're done. They don't think about it anymore. And it's like, those are the guys that, as much as they fail to realize, like, I'm trying to look out for their best interest 5 years from now. I'm still going to hunt. I'll have a place to hunt. My kids will have a place to hunt. I'll kill deer. You're going to be shit out of luck if you don't change something. And
that's where it's going.
They don't see it.
I know.
And you can't make them see it. It's just, you can't please everybody, I guess. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
So,
I guess.
Anyways, end of podcast. We appreciate everyone listening to episode 302 with Brett Smith from Whitetail Land Management Services, and we will catch y'all on the next one.
Later.
Take me